Oh, well.
But overall,
That
I mean,
goes- Perfection and usually falls short.
just like the board. We all set?
Why not?
Okay. Congratulations.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have Art's flying solo today, so let's be nice to him. Bob is homesick with the flu. Been sick all weekend. Sounds like he's basically warmed up from death. At this point, what I had, Dan.
Did you get a flu shot? Did you ask him?
I didn't ask him
I
that.
did. I asked.
Yeah, no. Uh-huh.
You can still get it if you have one, but
Yeah.
they say
Sure
it can.
Yeah.
But I think your chances get better.
Got him ahead of time. You know, like, old people, yeah.
Mr. Statersky. You got me. Here we are. Okay, we've all gathered around the picnic table.
Slow down to 60, Dan.
That's right, slow down. Okay. I'm going to start off this session with Art beginning to answer some of the questions that we had from our last meeting. So Art, you wanted to start working your way through those to answer them? The first question, which I know we went back and forth with emails a few times, but the first question on the list was, is road depreciation in the current fee structure? And the answer we've gotten from you and the accountants now twice is no, it is not. But I believe that is still an issue for discussion at this point. So I will open it up to my friend in the sweater down there.
I mean, I just like to understand it a
Sure.
little bit better. Here on tab 2,
Yep.
we show assessments, top column 8445929, of which 3,009,000, 39,045 is put into reserves.
Right.
Okay. Part of that reserves, well, the reserves are broken down in a bunch of different columns, but the lion's share is either going to the replacement reserves of the 5-year plan. Am I right so far?
Correct.
Okay. The
Section 21, in case people are following.
replacement reserves looks to me to be, if you don't include interest, about $1,600,000, right? 1,598,773.
Correct.
Okay. Now I go back to this page. I say to myself, where does that number come from? Depreciation.
Page 3.
Page 3.
Page 3 of Section 21.
Page 2. Page 3. Okie dokie.
Estimated depreciation schedule. And if you add the 1,370,000 and the inflation factor of 228, you come up with the number that you just saw on the page 1 of that.
Say that again a little slower. You went way over my head.
1,370,731 in the far right column,
Huh?
and 228,042, which is the $27 per property owner. That's the 1,598,000.
Okay. That's,
Okay.
Now, my question is, back on tab 2, we show a roads depreciation of $360,849.
Correct.
On this page, we're ignoring roads.
Correct.
Why don't we depreciate roads since it's a humongous asset?
Because we've always used the money from
1987 would it be?
I don't know.
You were here.
Yeah, no, I was here.
We depreciated roads.
Now, but this page is what determines what goes in the replacement reserve, the historical reserve, and that's buildings, bridges, pools, furniture, equipment, vehicles, parking lots, decks, shorelines, piers, that sort of stuff. That's what's specifically depreciated and goes into the historical reserve. and there are no roads there. And the reason why it's on the bottom of the general administration page is I didn't want to break down depreciation and put it at the bottom of every single section in here, so I consolidated all in this one part here. And if you'll look at tab 1, page 1, referring to tab 2, page 1, you'll see
I'm sorry, tab 2, page 1.
Yeah.
Tab
If you
2,
get-
page 1.
Yeah, look at both of them. The department summary is in tab 1, page 1. And if you look at that, you'll see that 5,111,884 is the total revenue. The total expenses are 458,159. That bottom section is not, included in anything other than just to show what the actual depreciation was in those years for those types of assets.
So the road source for money that we've been using for at least the last few years has been money from the state, which then disappeared. And then we decided to use casino money for the roads over the last couple of years.
Yes.
Whenever we actually, I know the board voted to move that money and assign it to roads.
Yeah.
So that's
That was
where we are.
casino money. When did the board vote to not depreciate roads?
Oh, that.
I mean,
I
I'm
don't know, is
I'm
they
having a hard
voted
time
not to
following.
depreciate them. We depreciate roads in the financial statements, but what you put in the replacement reserve depends on whatever it is you want to put in it. You can just pick a number. You can pick $1.5 million. You put that in every year. You need enough to be able to cover everything that you're going to replace ongoing into the future
Or maintain.
or maintain. So
It should
it's really up to
should
you.
include roads.
Not
Because
necessarily.
it doesn't
We have other
have
sources
to.
for the money.
We don't.
Well, we
I'm just
don't
saying
now.
Up until now.
Yeah, but you could say that this was confusing to me too. I mean, my basic question is, you have I went back to 2012 so I could pull out the controllers report and see where, very clearly depreciation is shown in this. Sort of put in and then taken out as it was expended against capital assets, if that's the way. And it was the right number too, 1729. Except I think the amount that was expended was a little less than that, 1722, something like that, which maps back to, the reserves.
Right.
And the reserve it maps back to is, in fact, the historic reserve. So, to my mind, looking at this, there's no question about the fact that this number 1729, which is called total depreciation, is what went in, give or take a few bucks, into the historic reserve.
No,
And,
I don't agree.
well, I can pull it, I don't.
We
don't
can.
need to do it now. I can tell you that, the number's not that much different. And by the way, it's exactly the number shown in the control report. Right, exactly.
I don't want, this may be something we just have to fix. But
Yeah.
let me show you what's a little confusing to me, don't on me. Public Works, which used to be roads, not too many years ago, it
Right.
changed from roads to Public Works. Let's look at that tab. Under our, not tab, I'm sorry, Schedule 11 of our audited 2012 report.
What tab?
No, I'm on
He's got
our
his
audited
own stuff.
statement.
Oh, you're on your own.
Our
Yes.
audited statement shows a depreciation expense of $538,128, if anybody wants to see it, okay? What do we show as depreciation in Public Works for that year? 528,500, pretty close. 400 of which is roads. They're calling it depreciation. I'm reading it as depreciation. It's what, a $16 million asset? What is what dollar amount is on our roads as an asset nationwide?
I don't know.
Well, let's settle one thing at a time, Vic.
Well, I'm just trying to show you
No, I'm not.
that we
The
have
issue
this
is,
humongous.
the issue is the current assessment that has been charged to our membership over the last few years. I don't know when the change happened, but it did happen at some point. The roads depreciation are not in that number. They are not there. Okay, Garrett has explained it, we've seen it in the books. We do depreciate the roads, but that doesn't mean that you have to take that depreciation and assign it to our membership. If we take the
Besides
depreciation
our
on
members, you
our,
mean the roads.
yeah, we
Because
take
we
it,
have collected from the membership.
no, actually, we have not. That's the whole point.
Depreciation's collected.
That's
It's
the whole
not in the
point.
assessment.
It's not in the assessment.
Depreciation's not in the assessment.
That's exactly what we're trying to say.
Well, we need to talk to our auditors, guys, because our auditors say it is.
And that's not what they're saying.
I'm sorry, they call it depreciation on my audited statements. What do they call it on yours?
What year are you looking at?
It's what we,
2012.
You have to, we only have an audit for the last 2012.
Depreciation.
And I went through this, Tom.
I'm not arguing with anybody, I'm
telling
just
you,
telling.
the numbers are these numbers.
it's,
All
Let's-
6 of them.
Let's not quit telling
So
him
they had to
he's
come
wrong.
someplace.
it's not funded in this budget. Not
I'm not
roads.
going to argue with the fact that we're collecting depreciation and then not funding roads. That's obvious. I want to fund the roads.
I want to make sure I'm saying this right. We are depreciating the roads, but that depreciation cost is not being included in the amount of expense that is being used to establish the assessment. Correct?
We are collecting out of the assessment this year $3,939,045 in reserves. Is that a fair statement? Yeah.
Is
Okay.
any of that roads?
It's what he just said. It's whatever we want it to be.
But it's not, but the roads isn't used in the calculation there.
But it just happens to almost add up to the exact same thing.
There's lots of numbers in here.
I'm sure of that. I'm trying to understand it, Art. I'm not trying to.
At some point, somebody made a decision, Marty, to not pass through the depreciation expense of the roads to our members in their assessment. Somebody made that decision.
In '07, I was under the impression that the board made a firm decision to show depreciation by department where it belonged.
They
Right?
may be showing
That's
the
way-
depreciation, that doesn't mean they're passing it through to the members in their assessment. And
No,
Artie's
no, no,
telling you we're not. I'm just telling you the answers
are.
we're getting, guys.
Well, okay.
Well, the answer is we're collecting.
It's not in the 3939,045.
Okay, so there's absolutely no, what you're saying is basically these numbers, depreciation, whatever it's called, have no basis at all.
They're not passed through apparently to the assessment.
Any of them. They mean really nothing.
Which page are you looking at before we agree to the what you
Well,
said?
we're just talking, I'm on tab 2, page 1.
Okay.
And I'm looking at a number back here, which is 1724914. It's different than the 1729693. But on the other hand, though, in the auditor's report, which I thought I had with me,
I have all the other reports.
we can look at it. The 1724 is in there, and the 1729 is in there. That's not 1729, 17298920.
I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just telling you the answer.
I
We've
know,
now gotten
and I'm trying to. I'd like
the fourth time.
If you're
that
simply saying that this is.
It's being
These
depreciated,
numbers
as I
really
understand.
have nothing to do with roads or the depreciation, and it's just a title we put on it. I'll drop the matter here.
Again, all I can do is help Art answer it again, as I understood it, because I looked into it, told
I
Joe
think
we
I've got
did.
it. We
Okay.
collect X number of dollars in historical reserves and X number of dollars in this continuing so-called five-year plan.
5-year plan.
And then we have all these other little things we collect. None of them seem to function quite as well as our bulkhead, where X in and X out seems to always add up.
The answer is our assessment for the depreciation, as I understand it.
As it is right now.
Depreciation, as it is right now. The depreciation for the roads that is in our books is not passed through our membership as part of the assessment. As I understand it, if it were, it would be about $43 a year.
And that's fine since we're not doing it.
Well, you could fund any amount in there, actually.
Well, it would be $43 a year if we didn't cut something else.
I'm just,
My point is, let's take the money for roads, which it's our duty to maintain.
which we're using the
And spend it.
casino money for.
Well, we're out of it. We've spent it. We're down to 200,000.
The road plan for paving is every other year, and that's what Bob presented the other day.
That wouldn't be my plan.
Well, maybe not, but that's what is behind this budget.
Okay, this budget's not approved yet. I
No, it's
thought
not.
this meeting was to try to
It
make
is
it
not.
work.
It is not.
And,
But the first thing on the list that at least three of us wanted to have answered, which is Dave, you, and me, is it really true that we
If it-
don't have that in the assessment? The
it
answer
is
is
true.
yes, it's not.
Well, we're collecting, again, almost $4 million in reserves.
Maybe.
No, not maybe.
Yeah, we are collecting.
We are
$4 million
collecting.
from my assessment this year, if this budget is approved,
Right.
is going to reserves.
Correct.
And we're not fixing a road one.
I guess.
That just kind of
Right.
makes me a little weird. When this whole 5-year plan was sold by Pete Domsack as a way to attack our roads.
So,
No,
Yes, it
no,
was
it
a
wasn't.
road.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
Definitely not true.
2009, it was 2009. It was all maybe projects for A, B, C, and D, and then the very turn of the year, it became the bridges are falling down plan.
well, we had the roads.
We had to
bridges.
replace
We had bridges in there,
$800,000 for
Bridges in
bridges.
there, roads weren't in there.
But not roads.
Bridges, roads. I'm sorry, are they not the same? Go back and watch the videos. This was sold as we can't ignore our roads. We've collected all this money and we're not doing any road work.
That's, well, that's just not exactly the case, because we just got through doing a whole
With the
bunch of paving.
casino money.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've collected all this extra money to spend on roads.
no, it wasn't for roads, it was for other
I'm
depreciation.
sorry, that's just what we told the membership.
No,
That's
that's,
okay.
well, Dave's just sitting there telling you, no, that isn't what they said.
That's what we told the membership. I was a
It was-
member of the board when we
Well,
told
so was he.
Yeah, we didn't agree back then. We still don't. But,
Okay. All right.
But it was for major facilities and in terms of that. But I am still interested, and maybe you think you know the answer.
I don't know what I do.
As to how, I mean, I'm asking anybody, we're just
Go ahead.
talking. right?
Sure, yeah.
Where does the number for depreciation that we have in this current budget, how is it derived?
Tab 3, page 3. Tab 21 is what he's saying.
Tab 21, page 3.
Yes.
Estimated depreciation schedule. Each year I estimate based on what I think we're gonna end up buying in the year that we're still in, and what we're going to be doing, this program for the year that we're budgeting, what the estimated depreciation is going to be. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, but that's the amount that we actually fund the reserve with.
I've seen those things that, your detailed sheets, and that's the core data input.
Yeah, this is just a summary of a sheet of the longer thing that we have.
To this. So it is fair to say, though, and this goes on from year to year, it's not like a one-time cut. I mean, if you're appreciating something over, say, 10 years, and each year you're putting in 10%.
Yeah.
Rounding numbers.
Yeah, buildings
But
are
they
40
are,
years.
but everything that goes into that historic reserve is for a specific thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if we were to expend the money from the historic reserve on something that was not one of those specific things, and for which we had not put money in, then how do you make it up?
The only way right now we're making it up is the recovery line, which is about $228,000 a year has been going in there. It's
That's the 27 bucks we talked about the other day.
it's varied from year to year depending on what the board said. Oh, okay, we had this left over. Let's put this in the inflation part of for the historical reserve. It wasn't called the historical reserve then. It was just a replacement reserve.
Yeah.
How do we have beach parking? Is it depreciable items?
So the recovery is above and beyond.
Yeah, that's added on to the estimated depreciation for the things that we think we're going to purchase this next year and what we're purchasing now. And based on the asset records of the depreciation that we've got on the books right now, that some things come off, some things go back on, or continue on.
Sure, well, I mean, I'm kind of going back to my early days. You know, there was a steady state. I mean, things go on, things go off. I mean, there's whole bunches of things. And I thought it had reached about a steady state. I think we talked back 6 years ago, like when he comes out. It was like, it was $1 million a year,
Right.
$1.2 million, something like that. And he was recommending that we put more money into it just so we got a buffer and we're not right on the edge. I don't know how much of a buffer we put in something. But that's been more difficult to track.
We put in a total of about $4 million
Yeah.
since we started putting in the recovery amount, because stuff 10, 20, 30, 40 years later is much more expensive.
We're putting in $4 million a year?
No, up to now, since we started in about year 2000 or so.
2000 we started the recovery.
I think that's what it was.
All right. I think I understand. Now, what happens when, I guess that's the crux of one of the issues that I have. I mean, I know maybe I'm leaping ahead or something, but I don't. But I mean, the crux of the issue is how much money do we have in reserves? I mean, we have made, since I've been on the board, a substantial number of very large, unbudgeted capital expenditures that were very, very clearly not depreciated. I mean, they didn't come through your standard way of
Greens are a great example.
well, that's one example, of which we're the only one.
Well,
I'd be
It
really,
is an example of what you're talking about.
yeah. I mean, we're spending money, a lot of money. Okay. And my primary concern is that we know how that's going to be paid back. And this recovery thing at $228,000 a year tells me that we've already bought more than 10 years more than that. I mean, we're not even close to being paid back. Now, recovery does come out of assessments.
That was one of the questions we had.
Right, I mean, there's no question
No,
about
yeah.
that.
One of the questions we had was, is the $27 enough? We actually had that question. The question was, is the $27 enough to set aside to make up for those things that go up in price and those things that are not, haven't been depreciated but need to be purchased or need to be taken care of?
Yeah, it's really not the issue about the price, it's the issue of buying things, just
Well,
simply
that's-
not budget. Now, by the way, it is an issue about the price too,
It is.
in the sense
both.
that if you set up a 5-year plan for a yacht club which you originally estimated to be renovated at $1.5 million, and we spent 4.3, you're significantly off the mark in terms of what you projected to collect.
Can't argue that one bit.
You know, and I would love to see, probably won't, but I'd love to see before my last year on the board, that we sort of straighten that out.
Well, this is exactly what Dan's, this is exactly what the motion that we passed, not the last meeting, but the meeting before, where we directed that the answer to that question by June, to have what is, look at the rack and stack that's already been done, the schedule that's already been created, verify that that's still valid, and look at the pricing that's in there to see if in fact it's still, that was about 1.5 years, 2 years old now, when that work was done by the facilities planning group, based on some of the work that was done by the 10-year task force and other research. That's why the motion was passed by us, to get the answer to that very question.
And, but we discussed that motion at the time, it was passed, and I can't remember whether I voted for it or against it. But I certainly know I wasn't satisfied with it, as I wasn't satisfied with thoughts, first listening.
Okay, well,
But it's for the very reason, it's not so much that we don't know how much they cost. hell, we can just put in a number, make it higher, so we don't miss it like we did the last time, for what it costs to replace the country club. We already know what some of these things are. It's not the cost, it's how and where we're gonna pay for them. That's, and what does that translate to? An assessment dollar.
Okay, exactly what
And-
passed the motion.
And that's not gonna be solved in June.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
And this is procedure, because I don't understand it. Let's just say, if the board majority wanted to move money out of the storage roads, okay, second for that motion, and I'm just curious, would that take a
Supermajority.
supermajority to move money out of historical and put it in roads? Where does the
Or
money
vice
for
versa.
roads, before I guess it was just, we got the grant from the.
We got the state money, it was put in there, and
It was
moved
over
over.
half a
Actually, it
million.
didn't used to go directly in there. So I never went somewhere else.
But it just got recorded as revenue.
Like police,
in the
police
roads.
money didn't go to police.
And
until a
if-
couple
It,
years
it,
ago.
it got recorded in the roads department, and then a contribution was made
Got it.
to the road reserve.
It
to
really
cover-
makes it easier for me to track.
Right.
Sometimes
Well,
just move stuff
in the
around.
vote that we made to to put the casino money over into the roads was more than a supermajority when it passed, so that is taken care of too, so that money moves over. We did.
And we still are getting money from the county for the roads. We got approximately 50,000
About
last
50
year.
grand.
It's in the budget,
Okay.
Yep.
the county budget, I got it.
All right,
We got it there.
It's
So I
not-
mean, we are
so that
getting
we're-
something
Is that state or county?
replowing this ground
to
up.
the state, to the county,
To the
to us.
county.
The road depreciation is not in the assessment. It's just not in there. The reality is the plan that is behind this budget, as I understand it, is the road paving plan when we just got through doing some paving. We used the casino money, which is what the board voted to do. This board can vote to augment that money if we want to, but the plan is that there's paving done based on a revised schedule, as I understand it, and that the casino money will cover that plan. That's my understanding of the situation, and Art, you're kind of on the hook there, but was my understanding that that's where these numbers came from.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we are when it comes to the roads. If we support the plan of our general manager,
That's way back.
we use the money for the casino, it's an estimate of how much we're gonna get, but it's been fairly correct. And that's the plan that supports the road paving plan, is to use the casino money to pay for it. And there's no reason to up our membership's fees or assessments in order to cover the road paving plan, because we've got the money from the casino. Now, if the board wants to get into a bookkeeping argument, we can certainly do that, but that's where we are. Next question was, how many police cars do we have? We have 6.
It's six. Okay.
Okay.
I see we're advertising for police in the newspaper right now.
Did they do something?
Did we? I'm not aware.
But there's an ad.
We must have.
Go down your list.
The next one that was on my list was something that you talked about, adding $100,000 somewhere. I don't know if it's a police budget or where. It wasn't specific, from the county, from additional grant requesting.
Man, initially I said 200, everybody kind of just shrugged it off. We're currently operating on a, help me with the nomenclature, agreement with the county police, shared,
Correct.
what do they call it?
Reciprocals.
Right. You know it's against our charter for our police department to do anything outside of the border roads department. It's against our charter. The new charter takes care of it, but the old charter restricts any use of our police department only to Ocean Palms. Second, and even more important, this so-called reciprocal agreement, we're paying both ways. We're already paying for the county roads and the county police to come in to Ocean Pines.
Right.
Now we're paying for it again.
You're going to
So-
get the argument from me that we need more money
The
from the county.
100,000, I think, is
Well,
way low.
Well, let's understand something, and I tried to explain this last time. This is a budgetary process of how much money do we want to put in this budget, betting that we're going to get more money than what's in here as far as the county money. That's really what we're talking about.
Well,
Is how much more county money are we willing to bet the farm on that we're going to get?
may
Now,
I
that
say-
doesn't mean we don't go after it. It doesn't mean we don't get it. But budgetarily,
Well,
what,
Anybody with a straight face that thinks we're getting 240,000 more in lifetime membership sales
well,
could certainly
has
ask for 100
nothing,
from the
Marty, that
county.
has nothing to do with the county discussion.
It does.
No, it
It's,
doesn't.
you're
No, it
talking
doesn't,
about,
Marty, but
you
it's
don't want to
No, it
ask for
doesn't.
something that's not realistic, but yet we've got a completely non-realistic number in the
That's a
budget.
different issue.
It's a different issue.
It's
The
talking
topic-
about
the
the
topic
county.
that's on the table is the amount of money that we want to put in this budget that says we're going to go get more than what's in here from the county.
I wouldn't be surprised if the county runs out of money shy of where we were last year.
Okay, well then, we certainly do not want to put in our budget the fact that we're going to get more money if your statement is correct.
Now, I would.
Dave, not that we're not going after it, that's not the
If you don't put it
issue.
in the budget, you might as well just forget it.
I still ask for more.
Well,
I
Dave's
think
good.
what you can do is, declare the budget, and simply predicate, I don't care if it's 100, you know. I'd rather be modest, I think. And the consequences is, there are no consequences all. That, we simply have $100,000 left to expend next year if we don't get it.
What do we have in our budget this year for the police department?
400.
Okay, last year they granted us 436. We approved.
It's actually 400.
This is
What you're, yeah,
436, this is
what you're,
2012.
I know what you're looking at there is, it's actually grants to towns. So what they do is they count a restricted fire grant as part of what comes to.
So it's 400 to the fire,
Actually,
police,
the
and
check
36
comes
to
to
fire.
me and I have to hand it over to the fire department.
So 36 goes to fire and 400.
It was actually 43.
Or is that money earmarked for operations?
Um,
That was different.
yeah, it just
I mean,
says.
it can't be
It's
spent
in
on
their,
capital
it's in their
or-
budget page.
It's from a grant for the police department.
Didn't used to be. It's just recently we moved it in the police column.
Well, we moved it in there, but they specified that it was
So it's
for
for police
police expenses only, and I don't know, I don't think it was specific as to operating.
Okay, so if I were to suggest that we approve the police budget with the capital expenditures, with $100,000 worth of those expenses deferred pending county, an additional $100,000 from the county, solves the problem, doesn't it?
Close.
I do not agree.
Real quick.
Everybody-
Well, we
Sharon?
don't agree, but-
Sharon? Hey, Marty, you've got a lot to
There's
turn.
one,
Give
there's
Sharon
one
a
quick
check.
thing. We need to remember, we have never, this shows more money in actual. We've never asked in a budget for more than 400. Last year's budget said 400. The year
No,
before
we did
said
ask for
400.
more and we didn't get it.
The year before said 350 and we got 450. Right?
Yeah.
So we've been aiming low at hitting the target.
We've been
here.
asking for more, we just budget what we think we're gonna get.
That's called aiming low at hitting the target.
All right, look. Sharon, go ahead.
Thank you. I thought about this a lot, because I think I was a lone ranger against this last meeting. And I agree with the idea that we should go to the county and ask for more money. And Marty, if you want to set up a task force, I'll work with you on that, because I think we need to do it. I think we all need to work very strongly on doing that and work with the Budget and Finance Committee and go there and ask for more money. But I am against putting that in the budget. And the reason is, I'm a realtor. I know I have traditionally sold 40 homes last year, 35 the year before, whatever. I'm not going to put a budget item. I'm going to sell 100 or 75 when I know I haven't had that as a tradition. To me, a budget needs to look at the past numbers and be realistic. And to put $100,000 in there, I think that's not being fair to our membership and say we're hoping to get that. Now, God bless us if we do, and we should be. But I'm very much against putting an additional amount in there from what we've had historically.
think it's, Ray, Dan?
Well, the police department, our biggest chunk of the budget, and went up what, 258,000 extra this year, but they're over.
258, 853 over the 5-year average.
And I don't know whether that's for personnel, for car, for operations, for new equipment, for, you know, I don't know what that's really for. Do you have any idea, Art? Did they give you any idea?
Which,
The
400?
What are the restrictions, if any,
No,
on
no, he's talking about what the restrictions are on the 400 grand, whether it's for operations or capital. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't think it is specific, only says only to be spent on police expenditures, so.
And our total capital in this budget is coming from the replacement for reserves, it's 43,500. Capital here is not coming from, it's coming from RR, replacement for reserve. So that money's not coming out of the 400,000. Dan?
Only because of the way we spend it.
I'm just reporting what's in the budget, that's.
Okay, the point that I think is really important here, and I suspect that we all kind of agree with this, is that we are spending $1,500,000 a year right now. Police ocean fines, and ocean fines is not an incorporated community in the county. So we're relieving the county of $1,500,000+ worth of expenses for police ocean fines. And we're doing it on a self-taxation basis. I submit that that's not fair. I submit that we should be building a cogent case, not just we have not walked in there with a plan and a cogent case for why we should get this money and what depends on it and everything else. And we haven't worked the program up to their budget decision process. Would I put it in this budget on the basis of having a task force on the board going after it specifically? Yes, I would. If we don't get it, then the police department doesn't get it, and we have to reduce police operations within the amount of budget that we have.
That's understood. I basically do agree with Sharon. I mean, the way I would prefer to do it from just a financial planning standpoint is not budgeted, but or if we do, make it a contingent budget that says, look, this is what you're going to get, but this is what you're going to get more if we can convince the county to do it. And I've reduced the request by that amount. So 200,000, 100,000, whatever you feel comfortable with, reduce the request by that amount, and then go after the money.
Are you looking just to go for money for the police department or anything else from the county?
That has
Yeah,
to be.
Anything and everything.
Yeah, it's
Case at a
gonna be
time.
everything, but I think that has to be specific. I'll get on the task force with you, so we can put together and we can make sure we put it on the county agenda, and we go down and we present what we think we need and why, based on the
I
argument
think
that you just
that's
made.
the key thing. I've gone through the budget, from the adopted budget from the county today, and there's money for recreation, there's money for tourism, which is going to other areas, and we're not getting any of that. So, Marty, you're right that we're entitled to more. I think we all agree that.
It
We
has
gotta
to be
convince,
presented.
we gotta
That's right.
convince
We have
7
to-
people down there.
Well, that can be done,
And I think we have to do a good job and work on it. I think Dan's right about that. We need a task force. We need to go down there with our guns loaded and say, this is what we're doing for the county. Our swimming pool, Steve Decatur High School comes here and practices. All our activities are open to the public. The fireworks program that we do, the whole north part of the county goes to the fireworks. So we do things for the county and we're not getting our fair share back. Totally agree. I just am against basing our budget on it. Now, Dave made an interesting thought. Art, I don't know. Can you do a budget with, if we got more money, it would go to? I don't understand how that would work.
Let me try to answer that one. The bottom line is if you put $100,000 in this budget for loss, at the end, if you look at the bottom of the page on the police tab, instead of 1.167 million, it would be 1,067. this department is still going to cost us over $1 million, even if we stick $100,000 in this budget. My point in bringing that up is what was discussed a few minutes ago as well. If we don't have the money, we fire people. I mean, that just doesn't work, guys.
No, I'm not.
I mean, that just doesn't work. The reality is, we all agree we need to go after the money. Getting no argument from me at all. We clearly have to go after it. But I'm with Sharon. I don't think you build a budget that drives the assessment to our membership based on how much more money we think we can get from the county.
Think
The
we're
reality
entitled to.
is,
You know,
we ought to get more than $100,000 more.
Absolutely.
We should. That doesn't mean you stick it in your budget that sets your assessment at the end of the day. That's where I'm having a disconnect with. That's putting money in you don't have into a budget. This budget is based on how much we actually charge people and what the estimated incomes are going to be from the various, or losses from the various amenities or facilities. If we're saying that $400,000 line should be $500, based on what? Not saying it will be, we're saying it will be.
That's not the line you have to work on. What you have to work on is,
Well, that is
that's
the
where the budget is. I mean, you have to build a budget on the 400,000.
That's where I am, Dave.
I agree.
That's where I am. I don't think you build a budget on 500 when you've got
But
the history of 400 coming in.
But on the other hand, I believe that you look, right now, if we consider 500,000 and say, okay, here's what you can get for 500,000. I mean, the only one that feels the pain, not the police department or anything, they get everything they need and everything they want. Who feels it is the residents,
Right.
the members. I think the risk ought to be shared. I think a certain amount of the budget ought to be reduced, and that we ought to make that effort to go to the county and get that money back for them. But on the other hand, if we do our very best job and we don't, then they'll just this year suck it up for that much money. And whether it comes out, it can't come out of capital because, as Art already said, we can put
Well,
whatever.
Dave, I think the important thing is you're right. We need to be aggressive as a board
Yes.
and go to our representatives and go down to the county and try to get more money. But I am not in favor of basing our budget on maybe we'll get it.
No, I agree with
Not in
that.
favor of doing
And
it.
So therefore, I am in favor of reducing the police budget by $100,000. And, right, and that's not basing the budget on anything. It's reducing it by $100,000 and then making our best effort to replace that $100,000 as from the county as we go along. As we,
They're reducing it from where it is right now,
yes,
dropping it by 100 grand.
exactly.
An 1194 member.
I truly believe we can get another 100,000 or 200,000.
We're looking for $30 a member more than the 5-year average. This shouldn't be any pain at all. By the way, just
By the way, it can be dropped out of reserves. I mean,
Yep.
Contribution to reserves.
Yep.
Or operations, or however the police department comes back and says, okay, we understand you, what you do.
Somebody, hold on. Somebody's got to explain to me what's on the table here as an idea, because I'm a little confused.
Simple.
I think I
Cut
need to.
police 100. Try to get it back to the county.
No, that's
That's the simple language.
that's.
Just so we
Cut the expenses.
Yes.
cut the budget from 1,167,811 to 1,067,811.
And how are you proposed to do that, Mark?
That's
I can
not
do
my
that.
job. That's the general manager's
No,
job.
no, I don't buy that.
And the police department, we shouldn't get into that.
I don't
That's
buy
not
that.
our job to get into that. Absolutely not. It's our job to tell the general manager, we can't do this budget, fix it. That's what the purpose of this meeting is.
It comes from
If we're not
capital.
gonna do that, why don't we just go ahead and approve the $43 increase and get on back to the bar? You guys, just for real quick notes, I just did this math real quick. Right now, Pocomoke is getting twice as much money out of the county as we are. Twice. Their grant is not only $448 or $436, but they get another $311, $484 in tax rebate. Plus, I left out $50,000 in tourism grant.
Because they're incorporated
Is
system,
there
that's why.
incorporated?
That's got
We're not.
nothing to do
Well,
with
it
anything.
is in the budget. They all the cities get it. Kokomo, Berlin, Snow Hill, and Ocean City.
Well, it's
We
not
all
so-
get it.
Snow Hill.
And that's always why there's been an argument about having Ocean Pines become incorporated or not, because of the tax revenue we get. Got it. This is not done. We're dealing with today's budget.
We can
not
get whatever we want. if
Well,
we're willing to fight
Marty,
for it.
I'd like to say you're right, that we could get another 100,000.
We're paying way more.
But
than-
I am
way
not in
more into
favor
the
of cutting the
pot
police department
than Snow
100,000.
Hill. We're paying a lot more to the pot than Berlin.
Well, then, you know what, this is just all smoke. If you're not willing to do that, I mean, then.
Yeah, we gotta put on our big boy
Then-
pants.
then-
I'm more
then it's
willing
nonsense.
to ask the county for 100 than I am to ask my neighbor for $11.
I don't care about asking the county for 100. I mean, we still have to do a budget. You want to do what Sharon suggests, then in fact, you do have to go back to the police department, ask them to reduce their budget by $100,000, with an understanding that we can reinstate that money as
When and
with,
if.
with an increase from the county. It's as simple as that.
Oh, so, wait a second, so let me catch up here, because I was a little fuzzy on the road coming in. And that's, what you're suggesting is that the increase in the operating increase in the budget that we're talking about in assessments right now is going to be recovered from the police budget by reducing their budget by $100,000. And they will get their budget back if we get that $100,000 from the county.
That's it.
I've summarized it correctly.
So it's one of two
Okay.
ways to do it. You can put 500 at the top and leave the bottom alone. Or you've got to take 100 out of the bottom.
So,
If-
I mean, that's what I'm
If,
saying.
if we agree that the police department is the department that's going to be reduced in order not to increase the assessment by $10 in operating dollars. Okay, we also had a magic $75,000 worth of paving over at the beach that disappeared into thin air somewhere.
But that was
Still have to
capital.
officially vote on that.
It's not anything except money.
Oh, I agree.
Okay, if you look at the reserve sheet, you start off with whatever, you pay for everything, and you still end up with $2.5 million sitting in your reserve.
Actually, it's closer to $7 million on May 1st and 14th.
Yeah, when everybody else's money comes in. My point is, let's not get lost about reserve money versus other money. In the bank, it's $1.
You
Okay,
and I are talking
that's
the same
all it
language.
is.
Yeah, sure it is.
So when you say take out $75,000 to art, that was taken from someplace and put into paving, my reaction is, okay, take it off the assessment now. That's where that goes.
Oh, I think there's a whole bunch of things like that. I'm hoping.
I'm hoping
There's
too,
lots-
because I can tell you,
there's lots of them.
a $4 million contribution to reserves.
That one was
it's
mental
not worth
history in my
43
mind.
Well,
bucks to me.
okay.
3-4 weeks ago.
Let me finish my end of the discussion, and I'll shut up, promise. And that's that the fundamental question I think that you're asking here, when you say take it out of the police department, is a really interesting one, and that is, do we really need as much police department as we have?
Can we afford as much police department?
Well,
as we have?
either way you want to take it. Do we need the police department we have to provide for the safety and security needs of this community?
You know, I don't.
If we can drop $100,000 worth of their operations because we don't need them, then I'm all for it. Let's go do it. But this budget tells me that they spent a lot of time and worked really hard to walk through the store and say, guys, if you want to maintain safety and security in Ocean Pines, this is what we need.
Yeah, you were not in the room yet. Big part of this budget, and the chief brought it up at the meeting, is all of this. We have to go out of Ocean Pines borders. We're going to Pennington Commons. We're going to River Run. We're going out on Route 90 to traffic accidents. Do you know that our charter doesn't allow that?
Well, our charter, the other one that you're going to jump on me about, but it does exist and we both know it, is the original Boise Cascade agreement with the county to get the permit to start building Ocean Pines, which was Ocean Pines will provide for its own security.
And that was college kids in the gatehouse when I first.
Okay, and that, but that's still there, Marty. The problem is that's still sitting there. And there's a real smart guy getting paid a lot of money to run the county right now who'll pull that out of his desk drawer and put it right in front of you and say, here it is.
Okay, does that mean $1 million 167, 811?
I don't know. I see $1.5 million.
Oh, you're not looking at, we get some money.
No, you're,
That's the expenses. It's amazing.
I see $1.5 million plus worth of expenses. That's what we're spending.
Okay,
You know, we're getting 400 back from the county and the rest is coming from us. Sharon's right. Don't budget for things that you absolutely don't think you're going to get. You're right. Are we going to sell $250,000 worth of permanent memberships in the golf course?
I'll take that bet.
To put those dollars in? Well, we might not. It depends on who you talk to. The people I talk to say, yes, we are. It's a budget, guys. It's a budget. It's your best guess at what the hell we're going to be doing. And you put it on paper, and if it doesn't work out, then you go adjust your budget and your operations.
I have a question. Why are we taking just this money out of the police department and not out of this? If you're going to cut it,
That's where
why
I
wouldn't
started.
you?
This
Why
is where
would
we
you
started.
spread
I
it?
got a bunch of departments I would have slashed and burned.
The reason.
Okay.
I'm looking for
I'll give you
$43 a
mine.
person.
I'm sorry.
First of all, yeah, I think I agree with Marty. We should be looking at every department and taking it out of every department wherever we reasonably can. But the answer here is the steady growth in costs, fairly substantial growth in costs of the police department. Over, if I can look at the last 5 years and see what it is, has not been matched by an increase in county spending. And moreover, our responsibilities towards the county. Now, you can say, well, gee whiz, we just have to keep eating it. No, we don't. As a matter of fact, we can ask the police department to reduce that, whether it comes out of their capital expenses or operational or some combination of both. But it's directly linked to the fact that we have not been getting increases in county spending. And basically, I think it comes a point where you have to say, oh, if we don't get them, it's okay anyway. And you have to go from that point to say, look, if we don't get them, we're sorry, but you can't get them. I mean, it's as simple as that. That's the source of the funding we're talking about. That's why we're talking about the police department. Every other department is just in the same
Marty,
boat.
how much did you say this was going to save each property owner if we cut $100,000 from the police department?
$11.94.
So it's $1 a month.
I'm not gonna, it's probably only pennies an hour. You know, that sounds like a land sales approach. The fact is, it's $30.61 increase per member of your $43 increase is going to the police department. Right there in black and white again.
Say that again, please.
$30.61 of your $43 increase is going to the police department.
But it's not a $30 increase. That's not correct.
Okay.
$43 is $30 is to the 5-year plan. 3 is to the drainage. It's 10 to operating.
It can be anything you want. You can move that shell all around the table, Sharon. You can call it anything you want. The fact of the matter is the 5-year average for the police department, we're going up $258,538. Do the math. Divided by 84.46, it's $30.61 a person. By the way, I would cut. There's a lot I'd cut. I think we're just spending money like drunken sailors on a March holiday.
Well,
And we're going to have $7 million in the bank in a
I
year.
think the other side of what I'm proposing and suggesting is that, it's not irrevocable.
Right.
I mean, if we're just not blowing smoke through our noses, then we certainly can tell the police department in all good faith that we will reinstate this money as soon as we get the additional funds that we request from the county. And perhaps even more if we get more.
All right, let me suggest.
But you're unwilling to suggest that, even though you're willing to run up the flag and say we're going to go down there and they owe us the money and they're going to. No, I mean this is where the rubber meets the road.
Well, that may be the case, but we're dealing with, right now, we're dealing with the police department, that's the protection for the people, and you're talking about less than $1 a month. And I really think our general public, people who live here, want that protection.
Let me,
I think they're going to say, I'll pay an extra $1 a month if I have to have this police protection.
let me go back to a comment that Dan made. And I realize that there's a difference between capital money and other money. Cash is cash. It's my understanding that from talking around this table, we're gonna remove $75,000 worth of paving. Okay, so we're talking about $25,000 here, guys. This is what we're talking about. There's absolutely no reason to put risk into this budget of $100,000. We go after the money the way we should have, with as good a study and a good presentation, working with Dennis Hudson and the Budget and Finance Committee. We go after the money. But we're already removing 75 grand from this budget at the end of the day anyhow. So we're talking about 25 grand. This is not worth the risk of saying to our police department, or to our members, we just cut your funding for your police department by $100,000. I just don't see any point in it.
Well, I wouldn't do that either.
No, that's what I don't see any point in. That doesn't mean you don't go after the money.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make any sense to me to take 100 grand out of a police department because we want to go after, we want to affect the budget by 100 grand. We've already done it, but once we do the vote, official vote, we're already taking 75 grand out anyway.
Please, if you don't want to cut the police department, I can understand that, and that's fine, that's how you feel. I mean,
That's just why I'm presenting it, that's all. I'm just
but
following
don't
what
give
it's
me
got.
that 75 grand for the parking lot, which didn't have a chance in hell
Of even
being
getting
passed
done, right?
anyway,
Yeah.
which moreover couldn't be done if you wanted it.
Right.
I mean,
What about those iPods we threw out?
And what about the iPods and all the other good stuff we took? Don't give me that, Tom. Please.
No, I'm not giving you
It's not,
anything. I'm
it's
just-
not, it's
But it-
not, it's not the same issue. The issue is budgeting the police department. If, let's put it to a vote right now, can we? We do it to a vote, and I'll shut up about it from now until forever.
Somebody make a motion that we take 100 grand out of it.
I do, let's face it.
I'll
It's not
second it.
that
If
sure
I
of a
made the motion, it'd been 250.
And Massey doesn't live in my neighborhood anymore anyway, so.
So we have a motion and a second. The motion is, as I understand it, to take $100,000 out of this budget to be returned to this budget
Should we obtain a
achieve an extra
grant?
the extra 100,000 from the county.
Amen.
That's fair enough.
That's
That's
fair
close
enough?
enough. Yeah, I
All right.
got that.
Discussion. One last comment around the table.
I've said what I need to say. I'm fine.
Greg?
I'm again it.
You'll get a chance to raise your hand here in a second.
I know. And I will.
Well, I'm just giving people a chance to talk.
I've said my piece.
Can I say just one thing?
Oh, here
Sure.
you go.
Oh, good, wait.
You've already had your chance.
And from now until on the end of at least this month, that would be perfect, the 26th, to be specific. Can I get a promise from the people who vote no against that? We're not gonna talk about getting more money out of the county or anything like that from now on.
Say that again, I didn't understand.
Yeah. Can we end all discussions on going down to the county and getting, and not that you can't do it, or not that you don't want to, you can go off and
I
get
mean,
a passport.
budgetarily.
I'm just talking budgetary.
Budget.
No, I'll agree with that,
All right,
absolutely.
All right, okay, that's all.
I'm not going to stop screaming about that till we get it.
I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? Okay.
At least survives. That was our
Sorry.
biggest
All right.
possible chance of cutting 31.
Oh, damn, she would have been on our side.
Good timing, Terry.
You just got
You
saved.
should have been here about 2 minutes
Next thing
earlier.
on your list there, sir.
What did they say?
Let's keep moving here, folks.
Good timing, Terry.
Ray voted 4-2. It was turned down. Terry was not here to vote. Absent. She can now vote present if she wishes to not. No, you weren't here. That's it. We're 4-2. All right, what's next on your list?
The next thing on my list was to put back in the batting cage for $1,000 in the
All right,
capital.
hold on a second. We haven't actually voted on that one yet.
Yes, there's actually 2 things on the Recreation and Parks Department list that I have a strong feeling for, under capital projects. One of them was the batting cage for $1,000, and it sounds like a small amount of money for a great thing for the kids. The other thing that I
Well,
think,
that's one at a time. The batting cage is what, about
$1,000, yes, it's $1,000.
Okay.
And then the other thing that the Recreation Department asked for, and I didn't remember to mention this last time, it was my fault. But I still feel very strongly the security cameras at the community center. And there's several reasons for it. I have been there and I have seen the graffiti on the back of the buildings that were done at night. I have seen the damage that's been occurring. Things have been stolen actually out of the recreation department. The young women that are there at night are by themselves. It's a dark parking lot. And there's a lot of old people like me that go to meetings at night and leave. It's a dark parking lot. The Recreation Department has brought in 2 bids on the security cameras. They have secured 2. The one they submitted was a little over $5,000. Well, maybe that might be, the one I have is 5153. Is there a different number?
The capital list, page 3, says $6,000. It's not in the included projects.
It's not included.
I'm back looking at the capital somewhere in the budget under section.
I see one here at 9, but that's not the one we're
That's
talking
all the
about.
capital projects. It's easier. If you go into the next page, Marty, it's on the not included ones. So we're talking about putting it back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the
I
one
think
I have,
originally she had submitted something that was 6,000.
she had one at
Refined it.
9,000, and now it's been refined to a different one at 5153.56 for security cameras. And what we'll do is install security cameras at 2 exterior doors, the acetique room in the parking lot, and outside kitchen gym doors. Install 2 cameras inside the gym. 1 camera in the Marlin room covers the door in the kitchen and the door in the room. 1 camera inside the acetique room, which covers the room and the storage cage, and 1 camera in the lobby to cover the front desk where the money is, and the lobby doors to ensure safety of participants and staff. I went over there and talked to them, and they're nervous about being there late at night.
That's a good idea, but they must also include lighting outside for these cameras, otherwise they're useless. We have to put some lighting.
Now,
outside.
this is your expertise. It's not my expertise, and I don't know what is in. I have the bid, more details on it, but I don't know if it says anything about lighting or not.
No, they'll be-
With infrared, 5 outdoor vandal-resistant high-resolution dome cameras with infrared.
The lighting, the cameras outside will only be effective if the people see them if they come up there. If there's, in other words.
Oh, you mean so people see there's a camera there?
Right,
Ah,
yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They say, oh,
So as
the
they
cameras
get
out
current.
here with lighting. That's the only way they're going to be effective.
Well,
Otherwise,
So you're not talking about area lighting, you're talking about a little light next
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
camera.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what you're
Got
talking
the
about. Okay.
electricity to
I
go in
just
for a
think
camera.
we
Yeah,
need to
right.
do this for safety reasons
I
for
agree.
our people and for our kids and the adults there, everybody. It's a $5,000 item, and the batting cage is $1,000, and I'd like to see those 2 items put back in there.
All that extra police money, how would they put the policemen
Thank you. I was just gonna say the same thing.
Sorry.
If we have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week coverage by the police department, we should be having unscheduled, irregular patrols going around recreation and parks.
And I
They should be
agree with
doing-
that.
They should be doing that
Yeah.
automatically.
But there's a lot of rooms that are not
Sure.
seen.
We've had a recreation and parks department in Ocean Pines since day one.
Not true, but that's close.
We've had a 40 years at least, okay?
Okay.
And our crime statistics with respect to that department are what? 0?
The vandalism? Have you seen the vandalism? You know about the thefts that are going on there?
No, I don't.
I think maybe.
Cameras are
something to
very
look into.
effective. They're very effective.
I mean, I've seen it. I saw the vandal, the painting on the back of the building. I walked around and saw it all. I know it's occurring. And I know those girls are worried about leaving there at night.
The idea
And
is
the
to keep
people
it-
are worried about
keep
going to
away.
the back parking lot by themselves at night when it's dark out.
Let them go someplace else to find their play, but they can't be hanging around there. The more they hang around there, the more they're going to have problems.
Vandalism is part and
The-
parcel of Ocean Pines.
The teenagers that are doing the vandalism in line, that's what the cameras are going to be there.
I just
Try
think
to
it's
deter
a
it, so.
huge security thing for
Look
our
at the
people
golf
there.
course for that. How much money is it? That's a
I'd like,
regular occurrence.
I'd like
right, let me
I'd like to
suggest
hear an
this.
opinion from Chief Massey.
Yeah, that's where I was going. What I would like to get, I would suggest to the group, and since we're not voting on the whole budget tonight, obviously, I think we should ask for an assessment of this. Obviously, Bob, in presenting this budget, did not include this, but I understand the argument. I think there is some clearly value in safety, but the person who can answer this the best is the person who runs our police force, I believe. Right?
It's such a simple fix as far as that's concerned. Here's what goes on the log. Every time you pull out of Ocean Pine, before you pull out, you make a right, go around the back of that building over there, get out of your car, and do a walk around. Every car that goes out, and that means 6, 7, 8, 10 times a night, there's going to be an officer there walking around to see if there's kids back there. After that happens for a week or two, you won't have any kids back
It's not all outside.
there. Yeah,
There's
I know.
vandalism going on inside.
Was
The
this canvas
stalls
inside?
in the men's bathroom have been spray painted.
We are not
There
gonna
have things been
cameras in
stolen.
the shower.
There's things that have been
Woman's
stolen. Well,
bedroom.
they will know who's going in and out though, because it's covering the hallway.
Okay.
Well,
I'm
okay.
sorry, Dave, you just cracked me up.
I can't believe you're laughing at me.
I'm sorry, I mean,
So you want to put one
oh my God.
I said, on the
All
bed.
the incense, oh my God, Mike.
That was terrible. My wife
Oh,
did.
man, your wife's gonna kill you, man. I'm glad I didn't say that. All right, here's the deal. We don't need a motion on this. We would like to have this particular capital investment, which was removed from the budget by Bob, to be reviewed by our police chief and have information provided to us on his position on this. Because I think that's where we need to hear this from. Because obviously there's more going on in that building than simply people doing things behind the building where it's dark. Okay, so let's get his view on it and like to have.
What
that
about
within
getting
next-
the recreation department head to talk or write up something that's what
Yeah, I mean,
she's
they
having?
two can collaborate.
Yeah, I
can
think
come
they
back
need
to
to
us on
work
this.
together on that, because she
But-
knows what's happening.
But do you want to make a motion for the batting cage?
Yes, I'll make a motion for the batting cage for $1,000 to be put back in
You
the
want to
budget.
second that?
Second.
Ray, second that. Discussion on the batting cage.
Yes. I am not aware of today's policies with respect to the field and batting cage. Policies have been a major stumbling block in Ocean Pines because in order to get into that field, as I understand it currently, you gotta come over here, you gotta sign out keys, you gotta go unlock it, and then you gotta lock it up and turn the keys back in
To what field?
to the ball field where you want to put a batting cage, okay? What I'm saying is really simple. If somebody wants to go change policy on who can get in and get out of that ball field and use it, I'll be more than happy to vote yes for $1,000 batting cage. But I'll be damned if I'll vote for $1,000 worth of something that people can't use under our current policies. They can't get to it. You put it in there and you put it behind a locked gate and it looks pretty.
It's a 4.5-foot fence. You get in and out of there all the time. There are
Well,
people.
but
Well,
they
they lock
really
it.
don't.
They
They
lock
really
Chase you
don't.
out of there faster than they'll chase you out.
That's right.
I gotta ask another thing.
They
Don't
locked
have wire
it because
cutters?
people were taking their dogs over there.
Right, and now we have it, but
Right, and
But the policy hasn't changed, it's still locked.
You're right. If there was
I
no
don't
law.
think, the batting cage is part of the whole package of people using the field. If you don't have it there, then they're not gonna use the field anymore, so if you don't let the people come and use the field.
People, I disagree, I beg to differ completely. If
Like
people can
sport.
get into that field to do workout play, to take the family out, to go play a little ball, they'll be there. Right now, they're not gonna be there because it's too big a pain in the behind to come all the way over here to get into that field.
Then maybe you're right, maybe the policy needs to be changed, and when they're done checking the back of the building, they can drive over to the field and check on the field too.
Well, I'm assuming this is being done with the programs, the T-ball program, the
Right.
Rookie League
That's what
baseball,
I'm
and the
saying.
ponytail softball.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm
when they're
saying.
practicing, isn't this when it's gonna be open for there to use it?
Right, but Dan's talking about if anybody wants to use it. But what I'm saying is if you don't put the batting cage there, it's going to hinder those groups utilizing that field.
Okay, this is another one. We need more
Just
information.
real quick, I mean, my 2 cents on it, it's new capital. We keep hollering, no new capital, no new capital,
That's
no
why
new capital.
it's,
Sorry, I'm not gonna,
So the batting cages, I mean, the people, those are the people that it's intended for.
It says
the
here,
organized leagues
the
that
T-ball,
already
the
are.
rookie
I
league
understand.
baseball, and ponytail
Do they
softball.
all pay for that?
Oh,
Yeah.
and the
Yes.
adult softball
Yes.
program, so it's for everybody,
Yes,
and the
yes,
adult
they do.
programs.
Yeah, they do.
I bet they work into that one.
so it's not in there for the purposes of general use by non-organized organizations. It's there for organized. but-
Organized
Correct.
groups, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm all right.
Which may be why the general manager went to those budget. With all due respect to the seat of it.
But he took all new stuff out.
Yes,
It got cut
He's
because
made
of
that
the
statement.
No new capital.
Well, you know, you know how little I care about that when you're replacing $900,000 worth of greens and you're.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're talking about-
We're
you're
talking
talking
about
dude,
$1,000.
who
$1,000,
cares?
$1,000.
Is it, Dan, am I not right? Is it not money? Whether it's
I'm
old
gonna call the
stuff or new
question
stuff?
on the batting cage. All those in favor of the batting cage being putting back into the budget, you say aye. Opposed? Aye. 5-2.
Question, when
Next.
we talk about the use of that field and all these groups you mentioned, the T-ball and the kids groups, where does that show up in the recreational program analysis? I mean, I don't see it.
What are you, where are you?
Back in tab,
under-
page 4.
It's not there, it would be on the front page under league.
I see that 27,000. What's it cost us?
There's an expenditure down below, says league expense down in the bottom section.
Looking.
Line 660.
60.
Yeah.
League expenses,
So it
660,
skips around.
18,500.
Okay, so we make money on that. Well, that league expenses doesn't include any staff, does it?
Well, the batting cage is not gonna get you more money, but on the other hand, you don't have to run chasing down holes.
Okay, next on your list.
Next on your list.
Next on your list.
That was to remove the beach club paving for 75,000 that was in reserves. That's coming out of reserves.
Can we vote on that?
Yes, we can.
I
I'll
will
take a motion.
I'll move that we get that out of
Second.
there. It was impractical and
Second.
unnecessary.
Marty has seconded a motion that says get that out of there, kind of like that. All those in favor of removing paving?
Aye.
Opposed? We have a 7-0.
The hippopotamus.
Hey, that's my motion too. Get that down.
Your motion.
It's South, you can get that.
Can we have a copy of that on video?
That's right, that's right.
He's right behind you.
Next on your list, that was actually our list, but go ahead.
Next on your list was reviewing healthcare. I'm not sure what the discussion
Well-
was.
Well, I don't think that we can have any effect for this budget. I just don't, I mean, I think Bob should just do what he's been doing and meet with the rep and
Right.
they work to try to get it to be as less. But I really, Tom has tasked me with putting a little group together to talk about that for the next year. And I'm going to do that because hopefully we can have some effect for the following year.
This is from from your committee, the Budget and Finance. I mean, it's payroll costs soared 60%, must be controlled. Healthcare costs out of control.
And my intention was to include some members of the Budget and Finance Committee, but they haven't done it yet. But that'll be an ongoing thing for this year.
Can we jump back? I know, let's skip right past Parks and Rec. Are we going back?
We're just going down the list. Do we have questions?
Just the question.
It's
my
not by
list.
tab, it's by.
No.
It's your
Okay,
li- it's
help
your
us,
list.
Skelton?
It was what you all did.
It's what we met with, and I met with Art and Bob and asked the questions, and that's what we're getting the answers.
And I wasn't there.
Okay, go ahead.
Pool insurance was an item. Just the fact that National Flood Insurance does not cover pools by rising water. We also checked into contacting Lloyd's of London and any other brokers that might issue some sort of excess coverage, and we found none.
Wisniewski won't rate? Was there fine you if somebody rated?
You can't.
Nobody right.
Nobody will rate
You do. See, Conley, certain pools are insured.
Well, our pools are insured for certain things, but not flood.
Sea Conley's was
Sea
replaced
Conley's-
after the surf picked it up and shoved it into a building.
Then have your agent call mine.
Wisniewski.
Figure it out.
Same agent.
It's not. I've had several conversations with him. Just this afternoon, I had another one with him to reconfirm
You
whether or
can't
not
get
we could
insurance for
get
pools.
excess coverage for flood insurance on a pool.
Damage by storm, I guess they're calling that flood. I don't know how they did it, Tennessee.
I don't know either.
Marty, if you can find, I'm open for finding out how they did it. We checked this now 3 times.
Wasn't that based on the fact that it is defined as part of the yacht club complex, the pool itself? It's not a freestanding.
It's an outside structure is the definition of it,
Right.
and it is not covered. National Flood won't cover it, and the excess carriers won't cover it because it doesn't have primary coverage.
You mean say if we put a cover over that pool and make it part of the yacht club complex, we might be able to get covered? I just thought I'd ask.
I don't know.
This place would be full of the elderly.
We make it an indoor pool, maybe. I don't know. We
Good
make it an
heavens.
indoor pool.
I can't believe
Do we
you
have
said
insurance
that.
on it?
Trying real hard to go by that one.
We don't have flood insurance out there at the sports
Streamlined,
course.
Let me just put it this way. We have now asked Art and Bob, I've asked them at least 3 times now, to double check this thing, and they have. And Marty, if you can find out a way that they got it covered up there, great. I'd love to know what it is. But so far, every resource we have has not been able to uncover anyone who would write that policy. Next on your list.
Next was reference to, I guess it was the yacht club.
Yeah, let me explain that. And Bob and I did have a chance to talk to
I'm
Bob.
sorry, could you repeat that?
No,
There was a side conversation.
I'll
I was asking spelling questions, excuse me.
Excuse spell check. The next issue on the list was the request for us on the yacht club as whether if it were to close immediately. I did get a chance to talk to Bob. As I said, he sounded like he was half dead today from the flu. He has tried to begin work on that. It's not done. We will get the answer to that. We just don't have it tonight. He just got sick and couldn't finish it. Okay.
So what is this for? I'm sorry.
Well, this was the question on the table that we asked, what if the yacht club doesn't reopen?
That's a bit, I mean, there's a whole thing about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a simple question.
No,
No, it's
Knocking it
not.
down,
I'm
closing
just
it.
paraphrasing that that's the
Right.
topic.
Yeah, okay, so we're not gonna do that tonight.
We can't, because
Because I figured we'd be here a really, really long
No,
time.
that's a really involved question.
It's a very involved question, and Bob apologizes, but he got the flu, and that's just the way it is.
That's good.
Next question. It all has to do with a lot of
Yeah.
things. It's
Yeah.
where the
Thursday to
whole,
Sunday.
Yeah, yeah.
the whole thing is, what are the options that could be out there?
What's the best option?
What's the best option? Give us the numbers so we have that to
And
work
it
with.
centers on the business side.
And the construction cost.
Well, yeah,
And the
Right.
construction
Yeah.
costs.
Construction costs.
Yeah.
If
Do
the-
we save
if it
any
was-
money?
Do
If
we
it-
save any money?
There's a lot,
Yeah.
all right, let me just go through the whole list that I gave them when I sat down real fast off the top of my head. It was, how much money do we save if we don't open it and give the contractor a clean work site to work with? How much money could we make if it were to open? We have the question of the new yacht club not opening fully in January, only for banquets. There's all kinds of questions around the yacht club having to do what are the iterations of opening, not opening, clean construction site, opening full. You got a brand new building. Why isn't it open for business? Sorry, I had to say it, Marty, just so you get to hear me say it once. Make sure you get to hear me say it. all of that is being reviewed at this point. He just wasn't able to finish it because he got sick.
And it's all moot because the chances every day that they don't even start to issue permits over there is going to indicate that the flights won't even be available in
Yeah,
January.
what
Won't
is,
even be
what
done.
is our,
I don't know the status on that.
updated
Isn't it
status?
signed?
Are we going to find
Haven't
out
even signed
from,
contracts.
Just give us a little bit of
Sure.
a, is it,
Yeah, sure.
is it this New Year's, next New Year's?
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's-
It affects this assessment.
Yes.
It does. All right, next.
Next question.
Sorry about that, guys, but our GM got sick and we just don't have that.
It just said police department dollars, I think.
And I think we've
That's what
talked about
already
that
went
enough.
over.
That horse has been whipped.
Terry missed the vote, but we know she would have, in her heart, she would
I
have been with
raised her
us.
hand
She
for
would
it.
have been with us, Mike.
I had another notation about the inflation worksheet. I believe that was yours. The inflation factor that we put into the reserves, I guess.
That's
it's
the
referring
$27
to.
bucks.
That was $27.
Let me back up one because I had one and had ahead of that.
You had one ahead of that? Okay.
Yeah. I had, what is the $60,000 for the pool condition of the skimmers and the tiles?
Sports court.
The
That's
sports
sports
card.
court. He answered that.
He answered that already.
During the meeting, I questioned a $15,000
Right.
job costing 60, and then we found out it's also
What?
skimmers.
Yeah.
It's much bigger than
Yeah.
What's that?
Still, it's bigger.
Well, it's bigger than I told. I was
Yeah.
told.
Well, the
Okay.
scope of that has changed
So we got
in the
that.
last 3 years, 3 times. As
I
to
know, I've
what-
got the whiteout sheet.
I know. That was me.
Nice job.
Yeah.
I think we used to in college.
All right, so that issue was answered. I just want to make sure that, all right, so what the issue becomes then the $27. Does the board want to do anything about raising that inflation recovery protection, whatever? Do we want to wait till June to get to 27? No, we don't.
Question. Why when we're gonna have $7 million in the bank in May 14? Would we even think
You know
about?
the answer to that money. Most of that money you're talking about is the fee and the assessment that people are paying to pay for the next year. You know that.
No. That's your reserve balance. It's your reserve balance. I'm looking at the budget.
Okay. But we also have to pay for a yacht club.
And the
That's
historic-
paid for
No,
in
it's
May.
No, it's not.
It's paid for, or we're gonna have Harkins who aren't on our.
We're
Well, this is,
paying it.
this is the
We're
subject.
We have a
that-
balance in the bank of $7 million, and Harkins has given us lead releases. Is that correct? Yeah, it's paid for.
Yeah.
Okay. And you want more money in the bank?
I didn't say it.
I didn't say that. I asked the question, do we, you didn't say that.
You know what?
Nobody said that. Their budget
It was
left
on the
it at
list.
27.
Maybe we could go buy a
So the
golf
answer
course.
is no, we don't need to raise the 27.
No.
I
Cut it.
disagree.
What?
Are you kidding?
Well, he thinks, the reason I asked the question is obvious. We
First of
don't,
all, $27, you just told me something that you didn't say before when we talked about $27, is that that's an inflation-based thing. So in other words, all the things that you're already depreciating, you're saying, okay, I'm gonna build in an inflation factor.
that's
to
basically what that's
cover it.
for.
Yeah, okay, that's one thing. Another thing is, when you put in that money for all the things you're gonna depreciate, and then you take out $900,000 and spend it on something else, that's different than inflation.
That's correct.
And,
That is correct.
and moreover, that's not quite covered by the 200 and whatever thousand dollars. Right.
Well,
Okay.
Correct.
450 of that is in a budget. That 900,000 is now in a budget. And the other 450 is paid for by the magical lifetime membership period.
That's right. And by the way, the pool, the 900 pool, 600 of that was in the budget the year before last that we didn't spend. So it must still be there.
Wait, we got the $4
It's
million
not-
we put
it's
in
not
for the
there.
yacht club
Yeah,
a couple
right,
years
it's
ago.
still
Can we go
there.
back and use that, Cliff?
So the
It's still
consensus of this crowd is the 27 doesn't need to be touched. What's next?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No,
fine.
it is seriously not.
Okay.
I do not think. I mean,
Okay.
that, I don't know how to go about touching the 27, but $27, when we have taken, how many things have we taken unbudgeted out of the reserves? 900,000 for the Greens Fund. Okay, we got $200,000 back, which we borrowed from future operational funds. Golf drainage project, $540,000, now to a full $900,000. Those are all money coming right out of our historic reserves, which came out of depreciating pencils and pens and chairs and, whatever.
Well,
But not any of those things.
let me back up on that one. The 550, whatever that, 553 or whatever that, 540,
Whatever it is.
whatever the number is, it's 5 and like that. That is a self-loan, which you and I both know we've set up an amortization fee.
We haven't voted on it.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
We voted on
We
that
voted on that
$25,
2 weeks ago.
$25,341 a year.
We voted to create a amortization fee on that a few months ago.
When we passed that thing, we voted on it.
Yeah,
Then how do we
You were
repay
taking
for
a
it?
nap that day.
No, I didn't take a nap, I just voted no and fell asleep.
Yeah, that's right.
The issue for me becomes the 27. Is it enough? Because Dave makes a very good point that 27 is actually for the inflation coverage for the things for replacement reserve. It is not an amount of money that we've ever set aside for the unknown or the unexpected that we would spend money on. That, the greens were not depreciated. We spent the money to fix them. What did you call it? The lifetime membership ferry's going to pay for some of it, but
A lifetime membership.
Lifetime
We're
membership.
just borrowing that.
Borrowing for future
operations.
membership.
Exactly, that's the.
bottom line is, folks, as an organization, and some of you have been on these boards a lot longer than I have, do we have a fund that is set aside for that kind of activity that hasn't been depreciated, but has now become something that we feel that who's ever sitting on the board at that time feels that it needs to be done?
We're talking like a rainy day fund.
Yeah, something like that.
We do not have a rainy day
Well,
fund.
the goal of this reserve thing when we started talking about pumping it up was to have 2 times the normal spending in there. We do have a fund set up to retire the Ocean Pines Recovery Fund for the operational loss,
Correct.
which we've raised to date $311,000 and probably increased it by $94,000. So we're going in the wrong direction there. Guys, $7 million in the bank in May 14. I don't know why we need to be structuring anything. We need a majority vote to clean up this debt. And then if we decide on another project, we've got a real good start on it. But I don't know that we need to be. Here's what happens when you have $7 million in the bank. You want to know? I got a plan. Let's do some greens. Let's do something else. I mean, we've seen it happen.
Where's the $7 million?
Yeah.
$2,969,000.
What
Page
section?
2 of reserves.
Right.
Section 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now add to that your reserve contribution you get the next day. $4 million.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the future.
I'm talking about May 1st,
14.
2014.
Right, and the 14.
It's the budget we're working on, right?
Yeah, 14, 15 you're talking about.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
That's still $3 million in the bank and all the bills paid.
Well, you also have 2.9 million in the next column next to it
He's including all that.
in deficit.
He's including all that. He's counting the future assessment for reserves
I'm looking at the total.
in
far right.
14, 15. He's taking that bottom number and then adding what you
This?
collect the next year.
Take your
right?
2.9 and add the 4 million, or $4 million you collect on the next day.
For the following year.
With no plan to spend it anywhere,
Which
except
is
for
exactly the motion that I believe you made, sir, for us to do the research and the study for June. Is it not? That's what I thought.
Right.
This board has asked for that very plan as to why and what we are going to do with that.
Because
It's exactly what we asked for. We already voted to do
There
it.
are people who voted for that, who agreed with the discussion that said, if we don't have a plan for spending that money, why in God's name are we going out and
collecting it.
Yeah, collecting it.
Thank you. You and I really do say just about the same thing.
You know, it's
different ways.
you need to watch the motions that we vote on, Marty, because that's already there.
That's what we
It's-
passed.
Yeah.
It's coming back in June
Right.
from the administration.
All I'm doing is pointing out, I don't think we need to increase, we need to cut money going into.
For right now, I would agree we don't need to increase to 27. I wouldn't touch that 27 until we get the report in June.
We don't know what we're doing, so I'll agree with that.
Well,
But I do know that, you know,
Is that
you've got in this budget, which would be a problem for me to vote for, unless you really don't care about the 5-year plan and willing to throw it away.
Which I'm not.
That's a historic precedent. But golf drainage, you know, $1.2 million, we've got 600, you know, and that covers about half the number of holes that we've got left to do. And that's 4 years. So you have to add, you know, maybe another 600, another 600, so every other year. So for 10 years, our golf course is going to be torn up. For 10 years, our golf course.
But of course, everybody would be making profit.
And you're going to make money. I mean, that is not planning. I mean, how are we going to pay for that? Tom and I agree. We're not going to stretch that out for another 25 years.
Isn't this
We're not
all
borrowing
Well,
money
I'm
from
not even
ourselves.
telling you got that under
Well, you know
control.
what,
We need to vote on
Sharon,
that.
you know, I'm banging on it now because, I mean, after 3 years of seeing plans coming in, or non-plans, no, I don't really believe it's going to be covered, but if we yell loud enough right now, maybe it will be. I mean, the question I asked Bob in his first thing, where is the source? I mean, you have to look at the source of the money when you create a plan. You can say, okay, this costs this much, maybe we'll build a $3 million, but you have to figure out over a timeline where that money's coming from.
That's what I
And
think
that-
Ian's
and that
talking about, am I
It's not
correct?
what we have, and it's not what we've ever had.
The plan, and I have discussed this with Bob, and he's not here, I'll do the best I can to present what it is. Dave and I, and many others, I think philosophically agree, we don't have enough money to borrow from ourselves to do all this work. So that form of funding going forward is not something that I'm gonna support myself, but there's other people here. That being set aside, the reality is we have a $30 figure that was in the assessment and is no longer there. Bob's budget plan going forward is to reinstitute that $30 figure, not in this budget, in the next budget, and then every year going forward after that, that $30 figure is in the budget. So that there is a $30 figure in the budget to create the drainage work budget to do the work with. And then the work is done in association with the amount of money that's every year or every other year. There is an argument that would say, we have a golf course that's struggling, and that are we going to keep tearing it up every year to keep doing drainage work? Are we going to tear it up? Are we going to close the whole thing down, which makes that's another argument. But the bottom line is what's in this plan is that the budget that will be passed by the next February, you would be presenting a budget which is beyond 365-day view, that he would insert the $30 back into that budget every year going forward, which is the way we always funded the drainage work before. The question is, this budget doesn't have that $30 in it.
Except for last year, we did not fund it.
No, we did not. That's
Last year
correct.
We borrowed it.
Yeah, we did not. That's correct. Which we don't
Or the
want,
year
which I don't
before,
want to do
or the
again.
year before. I mean, it's-
Which I don't want to do again. But the issue here is the $30 is not in this budget, but the plan long-term is to put that $30 back in the process next year. That's the best I can do to explain what Bob has told me, and I think he's actually told us that that's where it is. I don't think there's any huge disagreement here that we don't want to keep borrowing from ourselves, and that we ought to put money in a budget as an organization over time to pay for this funding. The reality is that $30 is not in this book for this particular year. That's where we are.
Which agrees with Bob's stated position that with respect to the golf course and golf operations, he's very anxious to let the work that we've done stabilize and let the management company over there start working that course to see what we can really
What can we really get out of it?
see happening with it before we start putting more money in.
Right.
And I think that's a very good philosophy for us.
I do disagree, actually.
Well,
I mean, you're asking a course to stabilize in a position where it's half done. If you've got 9 holes that are, have no fairways or bad fairways and are vulnerable to, and where the necessary drainage, which has been supported over many years continuously, is basically now every other year. I mean, that's no kind of plan. I disagree with that, as a matter of fact. I think, and moreover, I hate to predict bad news, but the bad news will be is that we'll pay for it because that course will not get the play that it requires unless it's brought to the condition. And we've spent, $1.5 million, close to $2 million more than that if you go back on the course.
See, that
And we're half done.
Yeah, let me bridge the discussion here, if you don't mind, because it is the golf course and drainage kind of go together. This begs the question that I believe was raised last time, having to do with the golf dollars that have been projected by our golf management. I mean, I think everybody knows I'm very skeptical of what those results are going to be. I've had it explained to me 100 times, not 100, maybe 10 times now. All 10 times. At the end of the day, I just can't make the cultural or psychological leap that somebody's going to turn it around that far.
For the sake of your sanity, you should know that you're a cast of thousands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just don't. I can't, for budgetary purposes, if we, and yes, I'm making an impassioned plea to change the golf number. Just up front, everybody know it going in. If we vote for this budget with that number in there, then that's our number. That becomes our number. It's not just Casper's number, it's our number.
It's always our number.
It's always our number.
We can delegate authority, but we can't delegate
So
responsibility.
I just believe that golf number needs to come down. I do.
You put in a bigger loss, which is like a proposal.
Well, that's
Project a bigger loss and raise the assessment to match it.
or
It's only
adjust.
$11.09 to increase it to the 5-year average.
Yeah, $11.09.
I agree, I hate it, but I'd get it back later.
But you know what, it's silly not to do it. I mean, the damage is done, okay? I mean, the actions that we've taken have resulted in this. I mean, it doesn't matter, they're done now, and you can't get back from them.
What we have on the table right now is the $27 that we're talking.
Yeah, I
Is
think.
that right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're on the golf thing, and I think
haven't heard
that's
anybody
coming up.
wanting to make, at this point, Sharon, a very good point. The issue, I haven't heard anybody say
No.
they want to make a motion to do anything with that, so I just moved on to the next topic.
You have moved on, okay,
Yeah, I
so
moved
then
on
we're
to
done
the
with
next
that.
topic, which in
Dave, are
essence
you
be-
on with that?
Well, no, I'm not, because I believe that we need a 5-year plan that makes some kind of sense.
All right,
Now,
so,
if we want to say, well, we'll wait till June, then this budget will be history by that time. I mean, so,
all right, so then do we need a motion to keep this $27 or not keep it and have a vote?
No.
no, that's not
It's
even my
there,
board.
and we're gonna vote on the budget.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
So the issue becomes, at this point, in my mind, I have moved it to the golf number, for the reasons. The golf number, it's, at least 100 too generous as far as, at least 100 too generous as far as I'm concerned.
93,630 takes you to the 5-year average.
150,000 is what it's.
So what is your number again, Mark?
If you add 93,630,
You remove.
you are at your 243,762 loss, which is the 5-year average.
He's adding to the loss.
I'm adding to the loss.
Which I'm lowering the revenue.
You're taking away from Ray.
Both doing it.
Well, I'm going bottom line. He can play it any way he
Okay,
wants to. It's
I'm
$11.09.
doing something up here that generates the.
Yeah, I believe if you wanted to be, take the risk, I think I said it at the last meeting. I made it up and then I justified it. It was $50,000.
You said 50.
And it was based upon something I don't fully believe, but I mean their stellar performance for about a 2.5 month period, one time, and it showed kind of what they could achieve. That's a pretty big stretch in anybody, but on the other hand, I don't think we have much else to go on. I mean,
Well, again, I'm worried that, look, Dave and I we're not even far apart on this one. And the bottom line is, we had 2.5 months of very good performance, and then things went south. This number to me is at least, I said 100, you're saying 50, and you're saying 150, right? So, hundreds in between.
Well, when we talked about this in the last meeting, one of the cogent points that came up that we all scratched our heads about, said, okay, we'll think about that and talk about it again, was also, I mean, yes, Marty, it is our budget the day we go to approve it. We own it. We've said we agree with it.
You don't have to vote for it, it can be your budget.
Well, no, I got that. I got that. But what the other thing that happens with budgets around here, particularly from my perspective, budgets with third-party supplier companies, is they set a standard in their own way. If you think that the golf management company is not reading our budget, then we're both smoking the wrong things on Saturday afternoons, because they're certainly going to look at it, and if we tell them, like, that's their number, that's their budget sheet that's in there. If we tell them, well, no, maybe why don't you just lower your sights a little bit, guys, because we don't think you can get up as high as you say you can. I'm a little concerned about. I'm of the opposite mind. I know that it's not budgeting good sense to keep a bigger number in there than you think you should. At the same time, I'm very concerned that you're going to send a signal to these guys that says it ain't as tough as you think it's going to be.
Let me respond to that for a second.
Go quick.
Dan, here's my response to that. Casper, I'm not going to ask my membership to share in a risk that you might be willing to take. That's your number, because you're obviously willing to take a risk that you can reach that number. That's your stretch number. I applaud that. You're going for that number, great. When I manage project managers and people, I always had to put a stretch number in. Always. It's just good management to do that. But if we simply take this number and say it's at risk, we're in essence asking our membership to take that risk. That would be my response to that, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I
It doesn't make
completely
sense to
understand
me.
that.
Okay, all right.
I completely understand that.
Sure.
you're really not asking the membership to take any risk by allowing a lower number. I mean, you're basically saying, pay for it now or pay for it later.
No, I'm saying if you
I mean,
don't lower the
you're
number,
saying if you
I'm
don't
saying if
lower
you
the
don't
number.
lower the number, you are asking them to share in the risk.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what I'm
That's
saying.
what I'm disagreeing.
Okay.
I'm saying, look, I mean, so okay, we don't change the number. You're saying lower the revenues, not what the bottom line.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so you keep it like it is, guys. What's the risk of the membership? That they're going to blow their budget again, and that in fact the membership is going to have to pay for more money. I mean, sometime in the future. Or we could say,
You can take that approach.
or we could say, okay, membership, we think they're going to miss it, so pay all your money now, pay the money now, and we'll give it back if they do that. I don't think it makes a difference. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, the money is going to come, whatever it is. Now, I think what makes the difference, I think, Dan's argument, I don't know if there's an argument,
Position.
his position point was right in a way. If Casper is an experienced management company, they have all the information they need to know what the best guess of that number is. And if they get it wrong, then there are consequences.
Nothing fired.
Well, no, those are the contract. Well, or their contract would not be.
Well, their contract is up at the end of this year, Mark.
This has gone around and around and around. One minute we can't, we're telling them not to do as well as they say they're going to do. And then we come back and then everybody keeps pointing out all best sides of both sides. The fact is, look back a minute, last year, their budget, not our budget, other than the fact you guys voted for it, was to lose 160,159. Based on forecasts at the moment, it looks like it's going to be 513,287. They only missed budget by 220%. Let's put him back in. He might not throw another interception. He's only thrown 4 out of 4. I mean, at a certain point, I would pull a quarterback. But at this point, if we're not going to change quarterbacks, we better come up with a different strategy. I mean, at this point, this is they can't do it. I mean, I hate to say that, but they can't do it.
I would propose this, man.
Sure,
Is that,
this is an open discussion.
you know, we've already done this already, but I suggest that the Gasper say the board is considering raising the park and say, you're gonna live or die with this one. Now, would you like, give them the opportunity to come back and say, look, we would change it to the that
We
one.
point blank asked them that.
We did.
We
Yeah, we
point
did.
blank
Oh, I know.
asked them that when
I
they
did.
were here. You did, I did,
Let me-
and
Well, you know,
Yeah.
we
Go
point
ahead, Jerry.
blank asked them that, and they didn't have an issue with it
They
in
did.
their budget, so.
Leave them out of it.
They have been, in all fairness, they were given, you know, I mean, obviously, folks, I didn't ask for that meeting and call them in here without giving them some preliminary discussion about what they were walking into, and they were walking into 513,000 in a rather upset, more than rather upset board of directors who wanted some answers, and that, you know, they were asked point blank in that meeting, is this your dollar? And Dan referenced the fact, understand, Casper, this affects the amount of money that we do or don't assess our membership. This is not simply a freestanding industry here. You are a part of a bigger organization. They'd already been told that again, but that's fine. They were reminded of it. And they stood there and said, that's their number. 150 is their number. So, you know, again, I think we're all around go ahead,
I'd like to make a motion.
please do.
I move that we add 93,630 to that budget of losses to bring it to a 243,762 or whatever it works out to be. It's more in line with the 5-year average performance of this golf course.
Okay, do you have a second on that?
Let it die.
I'll second it.
Oh, no, let it die. If it's not
Oh, I'll
gonna-
die. I'll withdraw the second.
There's no second. We'll just stay with their budget.
I can second it. I'm going to.
Oh, man.
Why, you made the damn motion.
I know. I think it ought to go up, but if I'm the only one that thinks it goes up, let's not spend dinner time talking.
Well, if you think about it, okay, there are some of us who think we should just let it be, and some of us who think that it should be raised probably more than that. So the middle is, statistically,
It's the
doing what Marty
it's the
just
93.
proposed. It's the middle of the road.
Any other discussion? It's the second round of this one.
At least.
That's okay, you know. Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Well,
Dan?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because we have Mr. Conway.
Any-
If we do this, what's my next door neighbor and I, what are we gonna pay
$11.09.
for that decision? $11.09.
$11.09.
More.
More.
So you just suggested that we raise our assessment.
Now, but this is one that here's, I
Well,
handed
let
this
me
out.
go-
There's a
let me
lot
go
of,
back then.
there's some raising, some cutting.
Well, let me go back to another question then, which is really kind of Mickey Mouse, but it's not. Okay, we took $75,000 out of this budget on paving by vote. It's gone. What happens to that $75,000?
Stays in the replacement reserve,
Uh,
historical reserve.
Can it
operating
be
budget.
taken off the assessment?
I got it.
Off the
There is no depreciation for the parking lot at the beach club. So there's not staying anywhere. There's no
It's
depreciation.
not
for the
in there
parking lot.
now, why, how can it stay in there?
You can fund replacing the parking lot any way that you would like to.
You can fund anything you want to, any way you want to. The fact is, we've never
With the
depreciated the
correct
parking
vote.
lot.
But but unless we vote,
We're not leaving
the
anything.
parking lot in, which I think we just voted, we get the heck out of there. It's not anywhere. It's gone. It's history. It's not gonna be like, I mean, somebody else can raise it next year, the year after that, or whatever.
Which
Go
tab
through the
is
whole
that?
thing.
Right.
You and
I
I,
would
that's
like
how
to
it's
have
gonna
it
come out of our assessment.
It's not under Beach Club. That's under 19, I'm looking for
It'd be
it.
under parking.
Many
It's under
thousand bucks.
parking.
Oh,
Okay,
What
it's
tab's
not a
that?
net- Looking at these, not a net, it should just be, it's a reduction, it's a decrease.
You know, Ian,
I'm dancing on the head with you.
yes, you are, because you know what? I mean, that's trading one item off against another, and I think we already used.
I think you get to the end and you slash, you
I
go
mean-
back to your big items
I
and
mean,
you
you're
slash.
still gonna be going through items to cut. Oh,
If we replace it, we've taken out a replacement reserve, not because it wasn't appreciated. That's up to the board to say where to take the funds from to do that.
Okay, but if
What
the
does it say,
funds,
though?
if the board has said,
Replacement reserves, there is not $75,000 in any replacement reserve in Ocean Pines history for repaving that parking lot.
okay, that's, my point, Art, is, and Marty's getting to it, is I think that $75,000 comes right off the assessment.
I don't believe so, no.
Well,
Why
it
not?
could if we vote that way.
Why not?
Yeah,
What,
we can
what,
vote.
what
You can
impact,
vote.
what impact is that gonna have on your budget if it comes off, other than reducing the assessment? You're just taking it out.
Right,
It
and what it
wasn't in
does,
there to begin with, it was just, you said it would just go back to replacement reserves. Well, it wasn't in replacement reserves to begin with.
That's where it's showing
Correct.
it is.
Yeah, but it
well,
ain't
no,
there.
that's where we're showing that we're taking it from.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
but on the other hand,
The
it's
asset
also.
exists, therefore, if you replace it, it comes
Well,
under
okay,
replacement.
but that's, all right,
Appreciate ground.
but our mechanism for doing that is called depreciation, and we have not, to my knowledge, depreciated a parking lot in Ocean Pines
Or
for
greens.
1 cent over 45 years.
Or greens.
So it doesn't come out of replacement reserves, it comes off the assessment.
So
Boom, right away.
It's not coming out of anywhere.
Well, it's
Not
in
Where
there.
where do reserves
in
come
there.
from?
It's
Is
not in
that
there
little
under the
store
assessment,
supplies
it's in
I
there
never
under the
got?
reserve.
Let me ask this, Art, I mean, there is an amount of money coming out of assessment that is going into our historic reserves.
Right.
That's about, cut that by 75,000, we take it out of assessment.
Cut it by 75,000?
Cut it by
The
75,000,
depreciation
since we
on,
won't need that.
yeah, the depreciation on the 75,000 that's in the calculations for this reserve is what, $2,500?
No, I didn't say anything about depreciation. I said you put amount of money into the historic reserves, okay? There is no amount of money that was ever depreciated on that parking lot,
It's $9.
but you're proposing to spend it.
Yeah,
You're proposing to
$8.
spend it
That'd be
anyway,
change.
Art,
That's
Proposing
it.
to take it out of the replacement reserve.
and take it out of the replacement reserve. There was money that went into the replacement reserve,
Scary.
and now you're taking that money that went into it, and you're taking, it's saying we're gonna take it out. It's gone if you take it out. Now, if we say don't take it out, we say no parking lot, then why is it not the same thing to say, okay, at the same time, cut what you're putting in this year by 75,000, because you're not taking that out.
It
It's nine,
it doesn't equate to the assessment.
it's $9 on the assessment.
Sure.
$8.87.
Every dollar that
Just
we
did on
put
my
into
phone.
the historic reserve this
Okay.
year comes out of assessment.
That means the net increase,
Right,
I'm
and
trying to
what
get
we
to
put in
this,
for
the
that
net
is
increase on the golf is
depreciation
now
based
$3.
on,
To make that change.
one half a
I'm
year
starting
for
to get
15
happy.
years.
But if we're putting off it's not depreciated, then obviously the depreciation doesn't make any difference, Art. I know you've been doing that for 15 years, and then you got this big long list. But we've proved over the last few years that that doesn't mean anything. We proved it.
That's it. The issue on discussion, there's a motion on it, and we're discussing it, but part of that
I forgot the
discussion.
motion myself.
Well,
Actually, was it my motion or did we?
Yes, it was
Yeah,
your
we're your
motion.
motion to raise,
Your motion.
to raise the losses on the golf by $96,000.
Hey, $3,630.
It was your motion, and I seconded it, and then the question became, well, then the question became, we take $75,000 off of the amount of money we're spending,
We already did that.
which equates to $8.87, regardless of what the impact is. Does that 75,000 of the 93 that we're already talking about?
You just lost me.
Well, I'm just trying to follow up on what Dan is saying.
It's not magic money here
not,
that we're playing. We took a real $75,000 out of something. You know, we didn't just throw it up in the
We
air.
saved it.
We saved.
Which
And
is
we're
equal
going
to
to-
889?
And by, okay,
887.
looking
So
at
we
it
didn't
that
take it
way,
out of the reserve.
It still stays in the reserve. It's not been collected.
I mean, there's
This
no
has been
money.
How can
in
it
our
stay in
money.
the
It's been
reserve?
collected through all the years.
It
It's
has
been
never
in
been
there.
collected.
Okay,
It's
so we're
coming out of
not,
reserve money.
we're not taking it
That's
out
where
of the
it's coming
reserve,
from.
so there's no effect
Okay,
on
so
this.
well, all right,
Except for the
let's
Unless
do
you
it.
reduce the amount that you put in the reserve by $75,000 this year.
Then it directly affects us.
No, that's not 75,000 that you put in the reserve. You put an estimated depreciation.
That's because you were talking about depreciation.
If we had,
And
That's what we're
well,
funding the reserve with.
No, well, that's not what you're spending the reserve on, depreciated items. If you're taking money out that you didn't put in through depreciation, then where did that money come from? It came from other items that were depreciated. Depreciation doesn't mean anything, Mark. I
The
mean,
only
come
way this
on.
could be more difficult
You
is
guys
if
been
we
talking about depreciation for the last 4 meetings.
I know.
slow down. Let's just give the guy a break. He's just answering the questions that we're asking, and that's all we've
I'm
been
not
asking
picking
to
on
do.
him.
Okay. Be good.
I'm not picking on him.
$75,000 would have come out of a box of money somewhere.
Yeah.
And we would have
Sure.
spent it, and then when we spent that money, we would then have had a brand new parking lot. They would have had a depreciation of $2,500 a year, which is what is on page 3 in the reserve,
Right.
which is in that number, okay? Now, the 75, what we're working on here is money that's already sitting in the box. And we've decided not to spend 75 of it, right?
Yeah, but one question, it
Yes.
would be new capital, not reserve.
Correct. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it would be,
Just
as
want to be sure this is labeled.
far as I'm concerned, it would be new capital.
No,
I don't think,
It's
I
new
don't
capital.
think so.
Okay. All right. So we don't spend 75 grand out of the box, which means we have 75 grand left in the box. And Art's answer, and correctly so as I understand the bookkeeping around here, is that 75 is a capital dollar. $75,000 worth of capital, okay? What we're talking about in the Gulf is operations. Those are two separate boxes of money. Hold on. I know everybody in the dream world wants to act like every dollar's in the same box, but it's not.
Well, they're both funded by assessments.
Yeah, yes, they are.
That's all, that's it.
Yes, they
Okay,
are.
Thank
Yes,
you.
they are. Okay, so I'm just trying to confirm my friend here on the right, that his answer's not incorrect. The dollar is there, but it's in capital money. That, therefore, cannot be used to, on the books, write off against a $93,000 loss, if you want to add 4 to the loss, which I seconded. However, that doesn't mean you don't do it. Okay? The question on the table, Art, that I think we're trying to answer is, if we choose not to spend $75,000 out of the capital reserve bucket, okay, what you're telling us is the net effect on this budget would be to lower the overall portion of the assessment donation from our donation, wrong phrase, cost to our membership would go down $2,500.
Right.
Okay. So that $75,000 equates to 2,500 divided by 8,447. If you want to do that, there's your money you're saving there. Yes, sir.
We started the meeting with Art. If I said this wrong, just pop me. But I thought we said that we really came up with depreciation by inventing a number. Right? Every year you figure out what am I to spend, what am I not to spend. That's the number that we put into our budget and draw down assessment dollars to fund.
Correct.
Okay. So this board can say, Art, take whatever amount out of that depreciation and don't fund it with this year's assessment, and the world will not come to an end. Is that correct?
Yep.
Thank you.
That would reduce the assessment by $8.80.
Yes.
Not funding the debt
You can
reserve
reduce it
that
by
amount.
whatever amount you would like to reduce it. If you fund
Well,
the
Well, we're all
if
talking
we were-
on the
if
same
we were-
page.
If we were looking at it as a 1-year deduction from reserves, in other words, call it a 1-year rebate to the property owners of Ocean Pines, $75,000 worth of reserve capital. Okay, that would reduce their
Plus
assessment.
whatever else we agree on rebating.
All right, well, that's a whole separate motion. We have the motion on the table to raise, in essence, the loss, and then the balance to that would be the 75,000.
Before you call the question on my motion,
Yes.
yes, it's $11.09 hit to our neighbors. To me, the people that don't play golf, people who may not be able to afford it, yes, it's probably 82 cents a month. You know, the fact is, they're good. In my belief, in my heart, I believe they're going to get hit with it anyways, because I don't believe for even a second that Casper's going to be able to make the 160 mark. So we're not really upping their assessment. We're not BSing them.
I will quit on the option, if it's your motion, but do you want to add, would you allow Dan to add some words to your motion, which takes care of the 75?
No, of course.
I think they should be two different.
Let's just leave that alone.
Absolutely.
Because we'll
Fair
come
enough.
back to cut things
Fair
later.
Fair enough.
This is, we're adding at the moment. We're going up 1108 for 9.
I'll
If,
call-
if it passes.
If it passes.
I
All
may
right.
not vote for it now.
The motion on the table is to increase the projected loss in the golf course by $93,000 and
630.
6063.
No, 93630.
630. That is the motion is on the table. Has been motioned and seconded. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Didn't make it.
4-3.
That's good. For assessment wise.
Yeah, well, I can see the
Bad.
papers tomorrow. Clark votes to raise
Bad.
assessment.
Bad.
That should be a daggone headline.
And that's okay as long as Tom remembers to take a picture of me in August when I'm doing this.
All right.
Casper.
Who are the three opposed? Or vote no?
You mean the fourth?
The fourth.
Fourth.
Voted no.
who voted?
4. 1, 2, 3.
Put your hand down.
I voted no.
You voted no. You voted yes.
No, wait a minute. No.
We voted against the raising the assessment.
Okay, you voted
You and
against
I.
it. You voted against it.
Harry, you three. It was you and I. You and I.
It was what?
Who was in the group?
Okay, it was Sharon, me,
Did you vote for it?
Dave.
You Yeah, you voted for it.
I voted for it.
Ray,
So
Marty,
it's 1, 2,
Let's
3.
read
Marty and Tom
Voted for it.
in favor.
Correct.
Who was in the group of three?
Ray,
Ray,
Tom.
Marty,
Marty
and
and
Tom.
Tom.
Those are the three that everybody needs to come yell at and talk to.
It was the hair challenge.
Simply, yeah, that's the way it goes. Just for the record, I don't think they're gonna make the number at all, but that's the way, the way it goes. The number stays where it is. That was everything I believe we had on the list from the last meeting, correct? You have anything else?
One that was Marina match. net
Oh, yeah,
profit.
yeah, we had the discussion to call on turn to Marina to basically say to the GM, match the performance of the previous year on the bottom line.
Okay, that, if you matched the 5-year average, 129,572, the budget's 102,882. That's a difference of $26,690, or $3.16 every
Okay,
month.
the question that was asked, I don't know if it was asked by me, because it didn't have a damn thing to do with 5-year averages.
Right.
Okay.
It was match last year's performance, period.
Oops, wrong book.
And the reason it wasn't gonna be matched was because of, we had to transfer fuel things and stuff like that.
Right, so we would need to sell an additional 78,000 gallons over what we,
Well, that's even more money.
to make that up. Now our highest year's been 150,000 gallons. We're talking adding 141 plus 78. We're talking 219,000. I don't see us doing that.
Where, are you
Not
looking
that
at
many
line
votes in the bank.
407?
Hang on, let's go through those.
Are you looking at
numbers
line
again.
407?
Go through those numbers again, Artie, so we know what we're talking about.
Let me go close.
Okay.
Okay, the difference between the fuel sales and the cost of fuel is currently 45 cents per gallon. We have in here to sell 141,000 for next year. It looks like we'll sell probably about 145 this year. Our peak was 149,012. To get $35,000, 45 cents at a time, more, 45 cents at a time would take about 78,000 more gallons than what we already have in here. And I'm not sure that's.
And to make sure I understand the math, then that would put you at 141 plus 78, which puts you at 219, and the highest you've ever been is 149?
149.
What about the other variable, where is it, right?
What did you?
I'm saying that the current, whatever the board has,
That's what the current price
yeah,
is.
at the current 40 or 45 cent margin, you change the margin.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning your numbers, but in 2012, we netted 153,000.
Say that again.
Oh no, that's not from fuel sales.
Well, the discussion on the table matched last year's performance.
Yes.
And that's what's on the table, and you're telling me to match last year's performance,
Which is 137,000.
we have to sell 78,000 more gallons.
Correct.
Is
To
that-
produce
And
$35,000.
maybe perhaps cut the 16,000 in additional payroll.
Well,
Wait a minute.
yeah, no, you're going the right way.
I mean, last year we operated the marina. I didn't see anybody not get gas for 77,120. And this year we're looking for 92,244. Actually, actual-wise, we've never been over 72. The forecast says 77. And yet we're budgeting 92.
All right, go to the next page. That's where the 86 to 92 is.
Well, 86 is not a real number. 86 was the highest budget in the history of the marina. Take the 86 and put it in your hat. We did it for 77,120. The year before that, we did it for 71,7. The year before that, we did it for 66,9.
So the forecast is 77,120 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And we've been fully staffed the whole summer, and we have somebody missing.
There was some.
Yeah, they were upset.
We had personnel that were not getting paid.
Yeah, that's what it was about.
Did anybody ever have a problem getting fuel?
I don't know.
All right, my argument was very simple, and the question was very, very specific.
Make it a motion.
And that was, in 2012 actual, our net operating income from the marinas was $153,446. And my question was, what do you have to do, not even what do you have to do, make that your 2014 staff, this 2014 number target at the bottom line. I don't care what you do above that line to get to that line.
You're saying that what you're saying.
In other words,
So
you have more options than just playing with gasoline
Right.
prices and gasoline gallons
Not
here.
just fuel.
And we're also betting on something that I think is a real interesting bet. Last time I looked, right outside the North Gate of Ocean Pines in the last 3 weeks, a gallon of gas has gone up by 15 cents. Okay, now I know that we're not buying fuel in advance at lower prices, but we are buying fuel in bulk at relatively low prices, and we're buying at competitive rates with everybody else that's selling fuel out there on asphalt.
We're the cheapest out there.
Okay.
We have tanks out there with fuel.
I'm just
too.
suggesting that you all need to sit back and look at marina operations again and say, okay, what would we have to do to the whole thing, not just fuel, to get to $153,446 instead of $102,882?
I misunderstood I thought you were talking about the actual end of year forecast for 2013.
That's what I thought you were talking about. So
Okay,
you're
I'm
back.
sorry. Even less. It's
Even
less
larger.
of an increase.
Right.
That'd be
Right.
34,
I thought you were
634.
talking about the 137.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sorry, it was
That was what you were talking
137.5.
Right.
And I simply want that number to read 153,446. What do you have to do to get to that?
Make 50,564 more than bottom line.
All right. So let's slow down. We've got two different sets of numbers here. To
He's
get from
saying,
hold on. To get from 102 to 137, Art is saying we got to sell 78,000 more gallons, not to get to 153.
No, but he's just talking about fuel. Dan's talking about,
Well, I understand what he's talking about. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to make sure we understand
I'm
where
talking
we're
about what we can affect here to make up that
well,
amount of
Dan's
money.
talking about, look at staff, look at what you
Services,
can do to
utilities.
increase, look at everything.
You're raising the bottom line by over $50,000 in the middle of a construction site. As long as we understand that's what, because I thought you were talking 137, not 150.
No, I was talking 137
Okay.
versus 153,440.
Well, actually, it's
no,
102.
102.
is what they're
Well,
projecting.
102 is what's in the
You're
budget.
saying
Well,
go
we've
from
got a-
102 to what, Dan? I'm
Okay,
not sure.
2014 staff, I'm sorry.
Well, you know-
102,886 to 153,446.
I wrote 120 from our last meeting. I don't know where that number, somebody must have said that number somewhere.
No, I thought it was 102 to 137.
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I
I wasn't
reported
there.
to you and Bob. Because I thought you had asked about matching last year's performance, meaning 2013.
So Dan, if
That's why I
I'm
carried
trying to
my $1
understand what,
calculator with me.
It's just, I'm simply saying, take the 102,882 and raise it $50,564.
Because,
I
because,
second.
because it's been proven in 2012 that
That we
it
can
was
do it.
153. So Dan's saying, so if you did it in 2012,
Then
then
why
why
did
can't
we-
you do it in,
then why didn't we do it in 2013?
well, we don't,
Yeah, the chips aren't all in. I don't know
We
why.
don't
know.
know
We
what
did
we've done in
2013.
2013 yet.
Well,
we
this
don't
is
know yet.
I mean,
this is
No,
going to be
this
pretty
is
close.
pretty
We're
close.
not
yeah,
going
this
to
is
sell.
going to be close. You're not going to sell any gas
We're
right
not going
now.
to sell any more gas.
Well, your gas sales were up in 13 over 12.
Why would our sales be down from the year before?
It's all a function of what the cost is, and what we're raising it,
Hate to say
and
it's
what the
payroll.
sales price is. I mean, your sales price can be,
well,
different between the years.
and it's not just people, but it's actual payroll costs.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's not just humans, it's not just employees.
I got you. We survived last year at 77,120. Why are we looking for 92,244 this year?
Because somebody was out sick, didn't get paid.
Who was out sick in 11, 10, 9, and 8? And again, I mean, I've not ever had a problem getting fuel. There's always people standing around chatting with each other.
Well, I could certainly see going to what we had the number last year. I have a problem going back 2 years, Dan. I don't know what the significant difference would be. Oh, weather certainly could be an effect. I don't know.
One of them has to do with our tanks were full at the end of the previous year, going into this current year. This
So
year
the
they will
cost
not
was
be
in the
there.
previous year. Okay.
Well, but
So-
Sharon,
Yes.
take a look at on page 1.
I'm on page 1.
Okay. Of the actuals columns from 2008 to 2012. And look at the bottom lines. Don't worry about anything in between. Just look
They're
at the
not
bottom.
operating.
Just look at the
Yeah.
bottom lines. Okay. 105 to 108, $3,000 to 132
I believe that's when we changed to
That's when we went to
changed to
to
non-ethanol.
non-ethanol. Okay. Up another $15,000 the next year. 100 year, up another $6,000 the next year. 100 year, up another $15,000 the next year. Up another $6,000 the next year. Up another $6,000 the next year. Up another $15,000 the next year. Up another $6,000 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 the Okay, all I'm saying is I'm having a lot of trouble on this particular part of the budget saying that we are going to, in an environment where marine services are doing nothing but going up, we're saying they're going down. And I'm uncomfortable with that. So I asked the question, what would we have to do to turn that around and make it the 2012 actual figure at the bottom line?
Let me ask Art a little specific question here. I've heard the explanation more than once now that we had the gas to carry over year to year. However, when I look at these numbers, fuel for next year in this budget is $571, and your forecast for this year is $565. So we're within $5,000 to $6,000 in fuel costs last year to next year's estimate, next year's proposed budget. We're within $6,000 of each other.
You're talking fuel sales.
Fuel sales, fuel cost.
Fuel
Fuel
costs.
Fuel
Fuel
cost.
Cost
costs.
of sales.
Cost of sales, okay.
Cost of sales is barely up, that whole total cost column is up, round figure, $6,000.
Well,
And that's only $6,000.
the other thing I brought up in the discussion is, and Art wasn't there, so it's unfair to jump in with it this way, but the other thing that we brought up and talked about for a couple of minutes was the fact that we had rebuilt, 3 years ago, the swim and racket club slips, but we haven't changed the rental rate on those slips in that period at all. Now, I don't, I wouldn't suggest to you that you change the yacht club slip rental rates, but I do suggest to you that you ought to be looking at the swim and racket club rates. I suggest to you that you ought to be looking at your employee costs and your employee numbers. And I think you ought to be looking at your assumptions about what's going to happen with fuel next year.
But aren't there,
If in the face of those questions, you're willing to turn around and look at me and say, Dan, I can't go anywhere close to the number you want me to go to, I'll buy it. I won't argue with you. I just need some, not just, don't get me out of just talking about gallons of gas here. Let's talk about exactly what I was talking about, which is marina operations. That's a whole bunch of lines in the budget down to the bottom line.
are there not more places where this fuel is available now, though?
Yep. But they're all more expensive.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just.
I mean, I have a friend who keeps his boat at Sunset right next to their non-ethanol pumps, and he drives all the way to Ocean. I mean, if you look at this budget, we're plus 15 in payroll and minus 15 in sales. That doesn't make any sense to me. Did we do any investigation into charging for the boat ramps? Or does everybody just let that roll along?
It was the county thing.
No,
No,
it's
that's-
No, it was because it's out, because it's listed as a public grant or something. I mean,
We haven't voted on that.
We haven't gotten to that.
We haven't
yet.
voted on that.
there yet.
Okay, well, let's finish your motion. I might make that motion.
All right, let me just, you say, Marty, we're down 15 in sales.
Forecast the staff.
We are within, all right, hold on. We are 634. You are getting the 15 from the forecast end of year.
Yep.
Okay.
634.9 from 649.9
So-
is 15, give or take.
The estimation is that for some reason that number's down 15 below what we achieved even this year. It's about the same as 2012 is where the number is from 2014. It's about the same as 2012. Right? Okay.
But it's way less than
All
2011.
right. Well, I understand that. I'm just, part of that, I don't know what had it jumped out for, but the costs also go up. But the revenue side of this thing, Marty's right, it's down 15 grand compared to the forecast at the end of this year. We're gonna end the year selling 649 and change, right? Fuel sales, 649,901. And that number is 15 grand less in the projection for next year.
More than the projection for next year.
No, it's actually less.
649,901.
No, what he said was projection for next year is 15 million less.
Gotcha.
So there's a $15,000 estimate of fuel sales that's going down 15. And you have personnel costs from actual going up 15, which I understand if you don't have full staff. You're only up from 2012, you're up 21,000 in personnel payroll. Go ahead, Rick.
Might indicate that the variables that could affect all of this are the fact that there are two tanks down there that during construction are going to have to be emptied and moved. And when they're emptied, if they're not properly treated and put in the big truck, whatever it is, that fuel may not even be usable, may not be even a factor in the numbers that we're looking at, and may have to be replaced for next year with all fresh stuff and fresh tanks to get it to jet level. So these are variables that we might have to look at as well.
I mean, the rest of this page, and I've analyzed this like you have, and all of us have looked at, the rest of this page going down, the numbers are virtually within 1,000 or two of the years before and the average and all that. This whole discussion is wrapped around the axle of revenues from sales and payroll. That's really what this whole thing is wrapped around, is that's a $30,000 delta from minus 15 to plus 15. You're a $30,000 delta right there. And the question begs itself, it says in 2012, we had a staff that cost us $71,722, and the projected budget is $92,000. That's, a sizable jump. Less than 2 years. Yes, Dick.
Yeah, even, I mean, that's the right way to look at it, I think. The 77,000 is a big jump over the actuals. The 2012 is a jump over the 15. So that's really ramped up.
Yep.
And the same things with sales. I would suggest that just looking across at these numbers that they bounced up with. Well, the thing that I look at that's impressive a little bit is that the budget for 2013 is equal, basically hit the full jam.
It's very close. I agree. They were dead on.
So, I mean, if you say do that again, and do it by a combination, whatever combination you want, I think certainly you got a big chunk of it in the payroll. There's no reason it shouldn't be achieved again.
So why can't we make the budget number the same as the budgeted number for 22?
I think you should.
I don't have any problem with that.
So that's
I'm
your
comfortable with that. The only thing I had a problem with was going south.
So is that your motion? 137?
I'll make that motion. Sure.
Dan seconded.
Add a dollar to it.
I'll second it, that's fine.
So in other words, your motion is that you're gonna manage what we did at 213 for the budget.
The motion is that the 2014 staff column on this page at the bottom line, instead of reading 102,800 whatever, we'll read 136,930.
So the budget for last year.
So you're gonna just copy the budget over, not the actual,
We're
or
not
the
going
forecast.
to go backwards in our net income from operations
Okay,
here.
budget for the same thing we did this past year.
Right.
Do I have a second on this? Do I have a second?
Oh,
Terry
that-
seconded?
Did you second?
Okay, Dan seconded.
I just modified the dates.
Okay. We got a motion on the table.
To be specific,
I made it.
I thought there was a motion seconded by me that was on the table. When I left.
I didn't make that motion.
he
You
talked
just
about
said
it.
second, I didn't make that.
Oh,
You
okay.
yelled second, but there was no.
What's your motion?
Technically speaking, Dave, what's your motion?
The motion is to increase the net operating back to the 2012 13 budget number at 136,932.
14, get down to
And that
the 130.
because
34, 634.
because that number hit the forecast, and that doesn't happen very often.
Dead on.
That motion's on the floor and
Has it been seconded?
Second.
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? Is that all I have to say?
Somebody should vote for it, right?
Quick, call it.
Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Another 7-0.
I don't have my phone to take a picture of
I
that.
made
Now
that,
we-
I made that one too tough.
Lord. Okay.
Two.
What else do we have? Who put
I don't
these
care what
together?
your next motion is. It
Motion.
Could be, it could be for me to have a new
Motion
Cadillac.
to adjourn, how's that?
I am through the list that I had from all the meetings we've had to this point.
Move to adjourn, Mr. President.
Did we do anything about sponsorship? Does that go anywhere in the
Oh,
budget?
thank you. That was on my list to go back to.
Okay, let's go back to that.
I mean, that was on my notes.
I think there is, let me just, in the discussions I've had, there's been no negative from the GM or anybody on the staff. They're all for going after sponsors. They're all
Down at the
for it.
ball field, that kind of thing.
They're all
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
Because we're gonna have a new batting cage.
They have no,
For which thanks sign?
I don't know that, here's my question on that
Maybe.
one. I don't know that we need a budgetary motion on that. I think there is agreement that we need to go after that money and hopefully they can get it. It's like going after the county money. Let's hope we get it
Mr. President, my motion still stands.
to
What is your
adjourn.
match? Wait,
Do I have a second?
wait, no, I have a question.
No, I-
Okay,
I'm
then-
not ready yet.
You are done with questions.
No, she's
You're allowed.
not.
Hey, she's
Sharon,
not.
go ahead.
We have talked about hiring an HR person. Is this going to go in this budget? Is it in the budget? Where does this
Is there
stand?
an HR person in this budget?
Yes, it's in there.
Is it in there? Where is it? May I just ask that for clarification?
Up
That's
in,
what's in next
let's
to
be
you.
clear.
Tab 2.
Thought it was under admin, but
That's right, admin. tab
human
2.
resources, there it is. I'm-
All right, I'm sorry. I just didn't know where it was. Okay.
At some point, we need to discuss that.
I'm gonna, yeah, I'm
A lot
gonna,
of items listed.
So,
Human resources. Okay. I just want to be sure it's in the budget. We've got a number there for it. Okay.
When we're going back to the marina, have we done any research on charging for use on boat ramps? And if we haven't, what do we have to do?
the answer
get
to
it?
that is, I have a sketchy answer to that.
Okay.
I do know that part of the discussion that I know Terry, you were aware of, was that there is a part of the county's representation
Their map.
of that map is that is an open county asset, which is another reason we go talk to the county. As far as the fees to use it, the leaning, I believe, is to go towards a sticker approach as opposed to a
Gate card.
to a gate which costs money and they get broken and all kinds of stuff.
Well, the sticker costs money
But
to generate revenue.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it does.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
No
But
problem.
again, we haven't.
But I do have a
So that's as far
problem
as I can
worrying about
answer
the county part of it. It was the county that put our boat ramp on their map.
That could
Well,
very well be.
And we can all go,
When
gee
you
whiz,
have to
oh
buy-
shucks,
when
but
you
if
have
it
to
was my
buy a-
driveway.
When you
it
have
would
to
be-
buy a pass for it, then
Right.
maybe the county can take it off there.
I think we ought to put
The question
Police are
becomes,
there.
do we want to put anything in this budget based on a directive from the board that a sticker process be put in place to generate revenue and that amount to be estimated before this budget gets voted
I
on?
would submit to you that would probably, because it's not currently classified under any classification, it could very well be classified under marina operations and begin to assist the general manager in solving the small conundrum that we've thrown at him.
But that's only $4.10. We need a whole lot more.
That's where I would have put it since the ramps are all under.
And I really think that when you look
You
into
know
it,
what?
Art, the idea is
I there's a boat ramp up there.
Enforcement.
College
I
kids
don't-
sitting on a beach chair,
Yeah.
minimum wage, a bucket of water.
I'll say there's somebody there.
But then you got labor costs.
You know what?
Yeah,
We don't care about enforcement a whole lot. What we care about is just like the county cares with its dumping permits. It's $70 to get that little sticker to put on your car. When you go to the dump to drop something off, they may or may not let you sticker. They don't care. They've already got the $70.
And you know
Nobody
what?
may buy a
They
sticker.
never
But
did.
you
when
know
I-
Oh, no,
what?
they sell
No,
stickers like
and
they're
it's
going
the
out of
same-
No,
stock.
I'm talking about to the ramp.
No, it's the same as the dog park. we self-police that dog park, because let me tell you, if somebody comes in with a dog without one of those blue tags on it.
Damn right.
we're-
I kill them both.
people-
No, I think that, yeah, but, you know,
But
you
the,
got a
but
lot
the
of
people who
there.
paid for the tags are self-policing.
Yeah,
That's right,
Hey,
that's the
Hey, wait
same
a
as a
minute.
dog park.
Yes, they
That's
are.
right.
No, I think the,
I think our members that use the White Horse Boat Ramp would love to have that on their car, so they then had some foundation to tell the guy with the Delaware tag
Right.
Right,
and the
Yeah.
cigarette boat backing off into our ramp. Hey, you don't have a sticker,
that's right,
Yep.
exactly.
but you can get one
I
right
think
down that path. Administration's open to one,
I
and
don't
it's $50
think,
for
well, again,
non-residents.
it's up to you guys. I don't know that that's a budgetary motion at this point, but it's one I think clearly Bob needs to go down that road.
Make it at the next board.
We can do it at a board meeting. We can do it at a
Or
board
they
meeting
say do this
if we need to.
I'll get you
I don't
to
think
write
we
it up
need
for
I don't think we need to.
I think Art's gonna put it in marina operations some way and we're done.
I have a motion on the table, but I'm in fear of recognizing it because do you still have a list?
No.
No? Okay. I have a motion on the table. Do I have a second for adjourn? Ray says to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Yes,
Bye,
sir.
David.
Any calculating more budget?
You were glad to have my mark.
Okay, hold on. Good question.
Is this a construction?
Excuse me. Can I get your attention just one more time?
Sure.
I did, but I'm. Do we need to get back together again, or can we provide the information on the yacht club? That's the big issue that's still out there. We don't have the
I think we
information
have to
on.
have the information now, but
I do.
We'll have an opportunity for a motion to go, I wanna see more costs. Now, it may not pass, but I wanna put the
I
motion.
think we need a